there's a principle called like the 3-2-1 principle. So 3 grams per kilogram of body mass in carb. I've worked with people where their diet history was so bad, and this is a female example, you couldn't lose weight on 900 calories. This is a fight who trains 3 times a day. You know, you fuel by carbohydrates. If you're neglecting carbohydrates in your diet throughout your fight camp, you're not getting the energy for training. You're not going to hit them high power outputs that you need. People think of sports nutrition as just like everything's like really dialed into the absolute T and the absolute gram. It doesn't work like that.
Hello and welcome to Shake the Mic. Today I'm joined by combat sports nutritionist Peter Miller. He joins me in the studio today to talk all about the do's and don'ts of making weight, how to do it properly, keeping well-being and performance as a priority. Peter, thanks very much for coming in. Welcome.
Thanks for having me on, mate. It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure to have you here. Can we make food fun during a fight camp?
100%. 100%. I think one of the big myths is people making weight is like you have to eat. Have you seen like the thing where the bodybuilders like fish and a rice cake? You know, I always use that example where like you think to make weight, everything has to get stripped back. Food has to be bland, boring, boiled chicken and stuff, and it doesn't actually need to be like that. And it's kind of like educating fighters to show that you can eat tasty food, but you just need to make little adjustments here and there. And yeah, you can eat good food.
It's not sustainable, is it, to try and like eat fish and a rice cake forever?
Yeah, well, you think if you got like a 12-week fight camp and you're eating that boiled veg, no seasonal sauce on it, you're just gonna be hating life.
It's it can really make you miserable, can't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's a difference between being disciplined and being miserable. Yeah. There's a fine line, isn't there?
Well, the thing is as well, when people eat that kind of food, you're more likely to want to, at the weekends, oh, fuck, I've been craving a KFC or whatever. You're more likely to do that because you haven't had any kind of flavour or anything tasty. So you're more likely to go and binge then, and then that cycle starts again. And then, I've let myself down this weekend and all that. But then if you're just eating good food the whole way through fight camp, you're less likely to do that. I've seen it with people I work with where they don't crave them kind of foods because they're eating good food anyway.
Yeah, it's consistency, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean. There's a good balance, and you've got consistency where if you're just being like proper regimented all the time, you are definitely more. There's a much higher possibility for you to just veer off track and just go crazy.
Well, even like post fight, you've done that 12 weeks. You've eaten bland shit food for 12 weeks, and then once you finish a fight, you're just like, yeah, sweet. Let's go on holiday. Let's go on a binge. And then they pile the weight back on.
Fighters go crackers, don't they? Yeah, like because they've been so disciplined. But we'll come to that in a little bit. Yeah, it's not sustainable at all. Do you think with cheat days and cheat meals, what are your views on them, Peter? How do you feel about that? Do you think we can make room for it?
I think that the whole term like a cheat meal, I think it shouldn't be used in that term because it feels like you're doing something wrong when you're doing that. Like the way I look at things with fighters I work with, if you're on track, the weight's going well, you're training hard, and say on a Sunday you want to go out for a scram with your missus or the kids, and everything's taking over the weight, then go and do that. You need that kind of flexibility. But when you turn things like cheat meals, it puts a label, like a negative label on it then.
100%. As well, like I've spoken to fighters before and said, like, when you're eating a burger, like, what's going through your head? I know when I've been making weight before, I'm like, even when you're not, you're thinking, I shouldn't be doing this. And that's not a normal mind frame to be in, and it's a bad thought process, and it can put you in like a very negative state when really you're not actually doing anything crazy. You're just eating what other people see to be regular foods, but because you've been that restricted with what you can and can't eat. Also, as well, I was speaking to a coach recently, and who I train with, and he was saying, like, Tom Simpson, and he was saying about, you know, if you never trained at all, and then you went to the gym once, it wouldn't really have any effect, would it?
Yeah.
Well, it's the same with your food.
Yeah.
If you ate really cleanly every day, but then you went and had, fucking hell, I don't know, a burger or a pizza, well, it won't really affect it. But people think like, oh, that's gonna be it's if it goes above and beyond that. It's if you indulge and you go, yeah, I'll have a pizza, and then a pizza turns into 10 subs of Singles and fucking 6 ice creams, buffet, and the set menu for 4 for yourself. 3 days later, you're sitting there going, what have I fucking done? Then it's went a bit far. And then but if you just go, do you know what? Yeah, we're going for a meal this afternoon. I can do that. Because there's nothing worse than being restricted. I mean, you know, I'm nowhere near to the level of athletes who you train or you condition. And I've been in that situation before, just being like an amateur fighter and stuff, where like I've been out with me missus and me kids and I'm sitting there like, and I'm thinking, I can't have this or I can't have that, you know what I mean? But I try and make a bit of a smarter choice as well. So if we're going for food, I'll think, right, we'll go to Turkish. I can get chicken. I can get salad. These are, you know, so you can have like a chicken kebab and stuff like that. Maybe get a few waters, you know what I mean? Might have a little Diet Coke or something, and then you've still went out and had a break and you've had a nice meal, but you haven't went crackers. Do you know what I mean? It's just trying to be wise, innit? And trying to make smart choices.
Well, that's the thing I said about, like, you know, you restricted the whole fight camp. You've eaten plain bland food. You've finished the fight. You go overboard because you haven't eaten anything tasty. Then you start the fight camp heavier. And then you have to start the next fight camp more restrictive because you're heavier than what you were the last time. So it's just a circle just going round.
It's a vicious circle, isn't it? And I'm going to come to like starting fight camps and stuff like that with, if a fighter wants to have like a snack or the craving something, like, and he wants something bad, something sweet or whatever, is there anything you'd say like, that's not too bad to go to, or any good things to recommend to say that'll hold your cravings back and it's actually not that bad for you?
A lot of times, but like a lot of fights I work with, they've got different kind of tastes and preferences. Some people like with the chocolate or the craving chocolate, and you do simple things like, you know, even some Nutella rice cakes, or, you know, you're still getting that chocolate craving. Or have you seen like the Halo ice cream that you can get? It's like a 350 calorie ice cream. It's a tub, so it's a lot less calories than say a Ben and Jerry's tub is about 1,000 calories. So, you know.
And what's Halo like? Is it all right?
Yeah, they're all different flavors. So a lot of guys I work with, you know, if you want that little treat in the evening, like half a tub of that, you know, 120, 130 calories, and you're getting that sweet craving then.
One I have sometimes is Phage yogurt and berries.
Like the yogurt.
That's a good one.
And it's quite filling too. You know, if you put a bit of fruit on.
If you get some mixed berries, throw them in, put a bit of Phage yogurt in the mixer, and have that. You still get, and that's good in protein as well.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? And you're getting that little bit of a like, this is nice. Yeah. Because you need that, don't you, for your mentality?
100%. Like things like yogurt pots. The Halo is probably one of the favourites. Like I had the guy when I first started doing this, and he was like, I've seen this Halo ice cream, can I have it? I was like, yeah. And then he started posting it all the time on his page, and then it started becoming like quite known that I give these people Halo ice cream, got mentioned on a podcast, and then everyone's like, oh, is there room for Halo on the plan? I was like, yeah, we're making adjustments. So I should be sponsored by Halo. That little sponsorship.
Can you see they're a bit apprehensive to ask you, Peter, when they're saying like, oh, is there room for this, is there room for that? They're thinking, shit, should I ask, shouldn't I? But they've got to, though, haven't
they? I try and be as flexible as possible, because like you're working with human beings, not working with robots, so they need that. They need that break. They need, you know, that kind of sweet craving every so often, because it just makes the whole fight camp experience a lot better. But like that's the importance, like, you know, potentially work with someone, because you know you can do that. If you're doing it on your own, you don't know if you can include that, or you're tracking your calories and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of confusion out there, isn't there? Definitely. And that confusion's worrying, and you've got enough to think about.
Yeah.
Let's talk about meal preps.
Okay.
I'll get on the subject of that while I'm there in my mind. What are your views on them?
A bit hit and miss with the meal preps, because only from experience of working with fighters, say, you know, a lot of fighters get sponsored by meal preps, and obviously they're convenient for people's lifestyles. You've got kids, you've got your food there. Sounds like you don't have to. It saves a lot of cooking time and money. And but I've had issues in the past where they've said, "Oh, it's X amount of calories on the thing," and one of the guys was working. He's like, "The weight's just not dropping." I was like, "What's going on here? Will you weigh the meal preps out?" And say the salmon's meant to be 100 grams, you put it on the scale, it's like 250 grams. So like over double the size, that's like a 200 calorie difference.
You're eating double the meals.
Yeah, you're eating double the meals. So obviously for a fighter who needs to lose weight, you need to hit specific targets each week. That's problematic if it's someone, you know, Karen who's losing weight, who needs to get in shape for the holiday. It's not really that important because the scales aren't like a set in stone thing. But
no, they just want to look good aesthetically, but you can look great if them scales don't say what you need them to say. It's a non-starter, isn't it?
That's it. And like, so I've had that end of the spectrum where the meal preps have been way off, and then I've had ones where like I work with a guy in Liverpool, Mac meal preps, and like I'll tell him what the lads need. You'll wear it for now. It's like all proper. So that's like the good side of good side of the meal preps. But you've just got to be careful. For the fighter, you got to make sure, especially if you've got a reasonable amount of weight to cut, you need to make sure that everything's like dialed in, because then you're doing after 3 weeks, the weight's not dropping, you'll be ironing then.
Could be extremely stressful, can't it?
Yeah, and then you're having a conversation with them. Like I've had to have a conversation with the meal prep and say, look, like, what's going on, yeah. And then like it just leads things in makes things more complicated.
You don't need it.
Yeah, you just don't need it.
For a fighter as well, like they just want to be able really to concentrate in an ideal world, and 9 times out of 10 it never ever is. Yeah. Just on performing. Yeah. Just getting in there and doing the job and winning. Yeah. But when the weight's a factor, it's a massive stress for a fighter, innit? Because they know, right, okay, sound, I've got 6 weeks, 4 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever they may have left in the camp, and they'll go, right, I've got that period of time to hit that weight. Do you have people coming to you with unrealistic goals?
100% all the time.
Yeah.
Like all the time.
Yeah, do you want it at a certain weight in too much of a short time, or they've come to you too late and they want you to wave a magic wand and fix it, or they're trying to, they're at the start of the camp, but the goal they've got is just fucking silly.
All the time, I'll get messages on Instagram, like, I've got 3 weeks to go, I've got 10 kilos to lose, and I'll say, well, what are you eating at the moment? Well, I've cut the carbs back, I've done this and that. So they're basically eating fuck all anyway. So I'm like, well, we've got nothing to move with. And that's when they go into the big weight cuts. And this is why I always like stress to people is getting like a body fat assessment at the start. If you're fighting, you want to take your nutrition seriously. If you get a body fat assessment, it can determine whether, is that weight class realistic for you? Because a lot of times what happens is people will say, oh, so-and-so competes at 70. Why? Oh, because the coach told him to. And he could be walking around at 80, 85 kilos and have not a pick of fat on him, and he's killing himself to get that weight every time.
The body scan, the body composition test, what exactly does that tell us? Does that tell us how much body fat somebody's got?
Yeah, so how much body fat you've got. Well, there's a few different machines you can get. There's one of the most accurate ones called a DEXA scan. So it's a bit like an MRI machine, and that'll measure like your bone health too, and that'll measure your body fat. And then there's ones that you can stand on the machines and you hold on to. It's called an in-body scan. And then there's another one where calipers, where people take different measurements on your site. So knowing your body fat, so I'll give you an example. Say there's 2 people fighting at 70 kilos. Person A is walking around at 80 and he's got 15% body fat, and then there's person B who's walking around at 80 who's got like 7% body fat. Who's going to make that weight easier? Because there's actually there's weight to lose. If you've got like body fat, then you're tapping into your muscle mass, which as a fighter you don't want to tap into your muscle mass because you need strength, power, all that. So
can I ask you? Let's flip the coin. Say if we got 2 fighters, they're both 70 kilo fighters. That's what they're gonna fight at. Yeah. Let's disregard the weight they've came down from. Yeah. And we're here now. We're at the weigh-in now. And they're both 70. They're both on the money, baby. Yeah. But fighter A has still got 15% body fat on him, say.
Yeah.
20% body fat, and fighter B he's down to 7%.
Yeah.
Is fighter A a disadvantage?
Not,
Do you think fighter A could have made 66?
but potentially. Because the thing is with the body comp assessment too, some people have just naturally got a higher level of body fat where, you know, compared to other people. So could they have made a lower weight? Potentially. But I don't think in terms of advantage in the ring or the cage, there's been like studies that have shown that the amount of weight that people lose or regain doesn't actually determine your success. So when people think, oh, I'm going to cut loads of weight because I'm going to come into the ring well heavier than the other guy.
My question to you was, is lighter always better?
No, it's not.
Because fighters, like, as a rule of thumb out there, like, I don't know your experience with, you must have a lot of it with fighters coming to you, but I know, like, any gyms I've been around, any of the lads you've been around, everyone seems to think, like, lad, if you make that weight, you know what I mean?
It's not determined.
If you could make blah blah weight, you know, if you could make whatever, you'd smash it.
Yeah. Well, I'll give an example of a lad I work with, Jonathan Haggerty. He's the one championship world champion, and
seen a few videos of him on your page. He's a geezer. He
used to fight a flyweight at 61. Always used to struggle to get down to that weight, and then made the decision to move up a weight class. Obviously, the first time when you move up that weight class, in his first fight, he didn't typically look like a bantamweight at 65.8. But then the next fight camp, he grew into it, and now he's world champion at that weight. All from just, you know, being realistic. He's not struggling to get to that weight now. Is he happier at
the weight?
Well, happier. You know, putting a little bit more size. He's more comfortable, not a bigger weight cut. So that's a prime example of, you know, someone at a world level that, you know, being lighter doesn't necessarily mean that it's better.
You see as well, we'll touch on this a bit later, but like, I've been around boxing a lot, but cage fighters seem to do incredible mad weight cuts, and they seem to be massive when they get in there as well. You look at them and you're just like, wow, this guy's a machine at the weight and stuff like that. But there's also as well, there's making the weight and being dead at the weight. Got to be careful of that, haven't you? Because it's all right saying, oh yeah, I made 60 kilos, did you? Yeah. What was you like when you were in there? I was dead, lad. Yeah. Before I'd even threw a punch, my legs were like jelly. Do you know what I mean? I just felt shot at the weight and that, or gas dead fast. You know, well then, you might have been light, but it didn't necessarily help with the performance. It's trying to get that balance, isn't it, Peter? Where you can get like, you've got as light as you can, with still being able to perform and still being comfortable during.
Well, the thing is as well, say you cut, I did a post on this yesterday, say you cut 6-7 kilos, for example, and then you have the fluids, the rehydration fluids post-weighing, it doesn't just all go back to where it was. It takes time to get through gradients in the body to, you know, your brain and stuff like that. So it could take up to like 48 hours.
Yeah, to get it's over. Hours, you're back home.
Yeah, you're back home. Bed. So you could get into the ring, cage, whatever, and people have been clipped, like been like knocked out from that. And not saying that's like definite, but likely done like
science behind it.
Done a big weight cut, the concussive makes you look at like the brain is in, say, like a rock in a glass of water. And when you like move the glass of water, there's a bit of cushion because there's water. So when you dehydrate the brain, think about taking half that water out, it clatters around then. So think about if you're getting into the ring, still dehydrated, that cushion isn't there. So then you get a risk of getting concussed,
brain
injuries. So
it's serious, isn't it?
Yeah. So like it's often like a badge of honor. Oh, I cut this weight. I do. Doesn't mean it at all. But it's good now because people like yourself and the sports science thing, you know, it's emerging. There's a lot more studies coming out, and people still do shocking weight cuts, but at the top level, it seems to be less and less and less now.
Macros. How important are the macros? What we're having in a diet?
For a fighter, like massively important to know, because, for example, you know, when you're doing any type of high intensity training, you know, you fuel by carbohydrates. So if you're neglecting carbohydrates in your diet throughout your fight camp, you're not getting the energy for training. You're not going to hit them high power outputs that you need. So it's like carbs are king in any kind of combat sport. So whenever someone, you know, signs up or I give them a meal plan, the main focus is the carbohydrates. You want to keep the carbohydrate as high as possible whilst also losing the weight too.
I'm just laughing because, like, carbs is a very scary world in the fight game. In the fight world.
Yeah.
Like, and some people seem to think, oh, lad, you're having carbs. But you need carbs to fuel for fuel.
Yeah.
But it's knowing when and where to have carbohydrates and the amounts to be having of them as well, isn't it?
Yeah. And like, especially, well, if you're setting your fight camp nutrition plan out, and I typically do an approach where, as a template, someone asks me like, how many carbs should I have, protein, fat? There's a principle called like the 3-2-1 principle. So 3 grams per kilogram of body mass in carbs, let's say you're 70 kilos, you times that by 3. 2 grams per kilogram of body mass of protein, 70 kilos, times that by 2. Fat, 1 gram, 70 grams of fat a day. So that's like a template to follow. And then obviously if you've got really high intensity training, then you're training 3 times, maybe you need to bump up them carbs a little bit more, maybe 3.5, 4. But then the next day you've got a rest recovery day. We don't really need them carbs because you're not utilising them. So you could drop that down, increase the fat, increase the protein. So it's all about like tweaking it around. That's like kind of a good template to follow for people.
3-2-1.
Yeah, 3-2-1. It's really simple.
Talking about simple, coming off that word simple, do you think in this day and age we should play 4-4-2 or do the old 3-2-1 and keep everything simple? Or do you think we've went past simple? Do you think that we've gone more advanced than simple and we could be falling short?
Well, big thing for my plans and the way I work with people, I make things as simple as possible. I won't give someone a plan and go, you need to have it like exactly this time and you need to have like absolutely to the T, because if you're that focused on things, people don't want that. People want, there's your plan. If you're training, maybe have something 2-3 hours before. If your training's 30 minutes later or earlier, it's not gonna kill you. It's not the end of the world. So it's all about like, people think of sports nutrition is just like everything's like really dialed into the absolute T and the absolute gram. It doesn't work like that. You need to just give them a plan to follow. It's simple to follow. Rough guidelines where the food around the training, and that's the main thing. When you get into like really, 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 really specific, that's when people's heads falls off, and like that's when you start getting a bit like OCD. Then you go, oh, I miss me. For example, the food would be like, oh, there's no brown rice, there's only white rice in the Tesco. What do we do? And the panicking is like, look, you're having this one time, it's okay. Yeah. Like it's not the end of the world. So I think simple for fighters. I think simple is best.
It is definitely. Also as well, the mentality side of things with that as well. Just another spin off on that. If it is too precise, and it doesn't need to be, it starts putting a negative impact in the fighter's mind if they're not absolutely spot on. Yeah. Because then when it comes down to fight night, they'll have a routine, and guarantee most fighters will go back over in their head what they've done to get where they are today. And they'll be like, did I do everything right? I didn't leave no stone unturned. I know I done this right. So going in there, it gives them that mental capacity to go, it reinforces them, the self-belief system when they're about to get in, when they're about to compete. And if they've been like sort of thinking they needed to be that accurate and they didn't, it's just like, oh shit, I had brown rice that day. Oh shit, I never ate at that time. Oh, blah blah blah. And that's a compound of losses. And that's not good to be getting in there with in the back of your mind.
Yeah, you just got to keep it just as simple as you can. And I take pride in like my work as being simple. People think you need to be doing this and that and doing like all videos and bombarding information. You don't need to be doing that. Like, give them the plan, guidelines to follow. If they need additional support, you give them that. But when you just bombard them with information, they don't want that.
Intermittent fasting.
What are my thoughts on it?
What are your thoughts on it?
I think
do all fighters follow it?
No. I don't recommend it. The way I look at things, if it fits your lifestyle and it's not it's not a task for you to do. You're doing it because of your, you know, your work schedule, training schedule, family, etc. Then we can work around it. If you're just doing it because it's this magic formula that's going to make you lose more weight, then there's better things to do. And also with the intermittent fasting, say you're not eating till 12 o'clock every day, but then you train every day in the morning, 8 o'clock. You're going to be knackered your own training. And that's compounded over and over and over again. And, you know, when I put posts out like this saying, like, there's other ways to do it, and then someone will comment, well, I've done this and I feel great. And then you look at them, it's like, no disrespect to them. It's like, you know, white collar fighter from blah, blah. It's like, when it's at the elite level, it might be okay for, you know, a lower level. When there's that fine margins between, you know, the 1-2%, it's not an optimal diet. And I treat all my fighters like I'll give them like their plan. Someone who's an amateur to
everybody's the same.
Everyone's the same. I still give this, you know.
That's your level, innit, Peter? And that's your benchmark, and conditioned nutrition's built around that. And we'll touch on conditioned nutrition as a business shortly. But it's like, if you'll get also as well, that'll put lower level fighters into an elite mindset, and also it'll give them that springboard they need to progress.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, and as you said before, the guy who's Jonathan Agati, who's won a world title in the one championship or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, when he's moved up that weight, he wouldn't have been champion when he first moved up in the fucking weight. But with what you've done with him, and obviously the stuff that he's doing elsewhere as well, that all comes together for him nicely, and then you've got a champion. Yeah. It's otherwise, if you're just fueling champions with that perfect diet, then no one else is going to get there. And I'm totally on board with that. I like that about you, the way you've got that vision. Not everyone's the same, and you're treating everybody the same. High protein, like people say, oh, have loads of protein in the morning. Is that true? Would you say you load on protein in the morning?
It depends. Like the thing is, it's just context. like for what? Like, are you training in the morning? Are you not eating the rest of it? Like, it's all. That's all the thing of like nutrition. There's like these like blanket statements, and there's no kind of.
Is the relevance to it, and there's so many variables,
well,
isn't
it's
there?
actually more important to space your protein out throughout the day, because what a lot of people do is you have a low dose of protein in the morning for the breakfast, they'll have like a little bit of protein for the lunch, and then they have a higher source of protein in the dinner. And what you really should do is space your protein out throughout the day, so have like equal feedings throughout the day, because there's a thing called like muscle protein balance. So you when you, I'll try and give a good example for it. So when you want to build muscle, for example, you need to trigger a thing called protein synthesis. So like the building and repair of proteins in your body. So to have this, you train and then you have protein. That protein balance is positive, and then you don't have a meal, it goes back down to baseline. If you don't have a meal for longer, it goes negative. So you need to keep that spike as high as possible throughout the day in order for you to build muscle. So that's why the importance of spacing your protein out throughout the day. So then little spikes, so you're going up, down. So if you would only having your protein in the morning, not throughout the day, you're not spacing it out correctly. So, and
then it'll spike in the morning time and drop off.
So like the whole thing about building muscle, you need muscle protein. You need to be in net protein balance, not negative. So that's the importance of like you space it out throughout the day. And when people have don't have it and just have it in the morning, you're missing out on opportunities there. Like there's research that continues showing if you space it out throughout the day, that's beneficial for like muscle growth and recovery too.
I think as well on social media, it can be a bit of a fucking nightmare, because it's a minefield out there, isn't it? Especially when it comes to stuff like this, because there's people who are uneducated putting out information. Yeah. People are hearing this information, passing it on. Yeah. Soon enough, you've got a lot of people who all believe this one statements or numerous statements that aren't real. Yeah. It's not.
Well, if you've got a good social, like you're good at your marketing and stuff, you could come across as an expert just because you've got a good page and you know how to do all your captions right. And then like there's this guy I keep on seeing all the time, and he's in the supermarket and he's like, "This is bad for you. This is bad for you." And he's like, he's got no qualifications. He's just pointing out these like blanket statements and supposed facts. And no wonder people are so fucking confused.
Is it painful for you to see sometimes? Irritating?
It is quite irritating.
And when people are coming to you like, or like, you know, they swear they know what, like, you know, no, I've been told, blah, 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 and you have to like sit them down and tell them, listen, this isn't the case.
Well, I look at it as well, when people have a go at me or comment on something I'll post something, or I don't agree with that, blah, blah, and I think, I want what's best for the fighter. I want the fighter to perform at the best, to win, lose the weight the best way. So if someone said to me, eating cornflakes 3 times a day would increase the fighter's performance and training, etc., by 50%.
If they're eating cornflakes 3 times a day.
No, but I'm using like an example. Like if studies,
that's what's happening then.
Yeah, if studies have shown that you can increase fighters' performance by 50%, I'm going to do that. But if there's a diet which is suboptimal, I'm not going to give that, because I follow things like research. Like people say, oh, I put something out the other day, and someone said that's not true, blah blah blah. I said, well, where did you find your evidence? That I found it on Google. Like, Google is not like, but I suppose at the same time, I'm lucky to be. I've gone to university. I know where to find research and articles and solid science. But it's just, it is a minefield.
We're so blessed as well, I think, with this modern day and age. Like, now you're sitting here sharing this studio with me, and we'll put this podcast out there, and whoever watches this is going to get some great information. And I think it's where you're sourcing the information from. But I mean, like the likes of yourself, it's come from a good source from you, because you've got the information from the correct places and put it out there. And I mean, some of the stuff that like you can find on podcasts today, we were talking the other day, like that years ago, before like the day and age of podcast and stuff like that, it was like, that'd be a case study in America somewhere in fucking Harvard, and then it'd go in the cupboard for 5 years, and someone would come across it and find it, and it might filter down to a certain couple of people, and you know, maybe only the elite would have access to that stuff in terms of the elite athletes who've got elite coaches. But now you can get the white collar fighter down the road getting similar information and diet than what world champions are getting at the elite level. And I think we're all blessed by that, don't you?
100%. Like that's the positive thing with social media, where my business wouldn't be where it's at without having social media. So there is definitely positives to it. And I think there's always any walk like, there's always going to be bullshitters, isn't it? There's always going to be people who talk shit, and then sometimes it's a bit of trial and error. People go to these people, you know, especially in MySpace. There's people that can do like a combat sports weight cut specialist in 3 days, and like, how can you learn like human physiology, hydration, all that in 3 days? And then these people go to them, have a shit weight cut, etc., and then they'll realize, well, you know, it's a bit of a trial and error, won't be doing that again, and they'll reach out to more educated people. And I suppose it's the same thing with, like, you know, personal trainer. People probably been to, I've been to a shit PT, and then they've ended up realizing they need something else, and then they find someone who's good in the end. So
I think with the game which we're talking about, there's just no shortcuts, is there, Peter? No. There's no fads. There's no magic fix. There's no, you can lose 10k in fucking 7 days, and you know, you can be ripped up. And no, you've got to put the work in. You've got to put the effort in. It's got to be done over time with something that's sustainable. And if you see an otherwise, it's usually not correct, is it?
Yeah, 100%. If someone can promise you, I will make you blah 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 and all this, like, that's just not the way to go. I'd never kind of promise anyone and go, I will do that. Like, it's all individual. You need to get data. So I was talking to you about, like, the body composition assessments and getting that, and then even getting blood work off people, because you need to know as much data as possible. Because these people are cutting weight, they dehydrate themselves in the sauna or a bath. You need to know, you know, can they make the weight? Have they got any deficiencies? Have they got anything like that? Because people can die. Like, it's happened. I remember when I first moved to Australia, some girl she was 17, I think, and Thai boxer, and she got told to run around the block to cut a couple of kilos, and she died of dehydration. So, like, it shows how serious it can actually be. So it's one of them things where you need to just get as much data as possible. You need to think, yeah, you can make the weight short term, killing yourself, but long term, over and over and over again, it's just not good.
I think by like picking up on some of the stuff that you're saying to me and the stuff that I've found myself just over periods of time about being around a gym, I think everything's got to be consistent and linear. That's like sort of what we're looking for, because the way you said, like the protein, you want to try and have it balanced over your meals.
Yeah.
You know, the meals, you want to try and keep them like the same within reason every day. All right, yeah, if you're getting a high output, maybe up the input and then lower it slightly, but it's there or thereabouts and being consistent over time. And it's like if you look at fighters, like, there's loads of them out there, Paddy the Baddy, Ricky Hatton, you know, who like, they'll just balloon up in between camps and then they'll come back down. That fluctuation in weight, that can't be good orders, Peter, is it? Isn't it?
It's not. You think about us as cavemen back in the day. It's a bit of a simple example for it, but say like when they're often scarce for food, they only can have food certain times, so the body protects itself. So when they have that food, the body tries to store it as best possible, to conserve it as much as possible. It doesn't know when that next meal is. So think about a fighter where they've dieted down aggressively for the fight. Then you finish the fight, balloon back up. The body wants to hold that because the body goes, we don't want to go back to that situation, like an evolutionary point of view.
Yeah.
So then they hold on, you put a little bit more body fat on, and then the next camp, you got a little bit of excess body fat. The weight's harder to shift, your metabolism drops because you basically go in kind of a, I won't say starvation mode, a bit of a oversimplistic statement, but your body goes into a conservative mode where you don't want to lose that weight. So the next time around, it's a little bit harder to get that weight off. When you were eating 1,800 calories the last camp, now you have to go 1,600, and then I've worked with people where their diet history isn't so bad. And this is a female example. You couldn't lose weight on 900 calories. This is a fighter who trains 3 times a day, and that's from bad weight cut advice. And you're giving a grown person 900, like you can't lose weight 900. There's something wrong here. And I've had to have conversations with people and gone, look, this isn't smart. Fighting the one time, great, but you got to think about your health. You got to think about, especially with females, like females can become infertile, they can lose the periods and all stuff like that. Like, it's great doing that one time, but what about, your life, and you want to have kids and a family and stuff like that?
It's insane when you're talking about the history of like an athlete who's coming to you, because it's like, it's the first time I've really looked at it like that, but it's like their history matters because it's the base point that they're at when they're coming to you, and that base point's everything. They've been having a nice, happy, healthy diet. They've never really cut weight before, and they're on 3,000 calories a day, 3,500 a day, let's just say. And even 4,000, let's go high. And but they're not massively overweight or anything. Then you've got a brilliant benchmark to work with. You could say, well, we can still have 3,000 calories a day because you've been having 4,000. We're still in a deficit. We're still going to cut weight. We're going to cut it well. And it's cool. But if someone's coming through you and they're the other end of that spectrum, and they're on, as you said, 1,800 calories a day, and there's not much of them, and they've got a lot to lose, your job's very hard, isn't it, Peter?
Well, I've got an example where I won't mention any names, but I've got 2 people who fight at the same weight class. Obviously, the body composition is a little bit different. One's having 3,000 calories a day, weight's flying off. One's having 1,200 calories a day, we're struggling to get the weight off. So there's a big difference. Obviously, everyone's different, but you can see the comparison where someone's had a really poor diet history and weight cut history and just continuously yo-yo dieting, and the other person's just been pretty consistent, and they're losing weight on 3,000 calories a day.
Can we fix it?
There's things that you can try and do, but one thing I try and implement is a couple of things. Obviously, education's important. Try and educate them what they should do after the fight. Try and get to some kind of structure and routine. And one that I do quite a lot is called the reverse diet. So all them things I told you about, where you finish your fight, your body goes into conservation mode. When you put loads of calories in, the body stores it as fat and becomes a little bit more resistant to get the weight off. Reverse diet is simply
you'd eat loads.
You just slowly increase the calories over a few weeks. So once you finish the fight, a couple of days off, and then we go right.
So if you postponed your next fight, so say for example, if they're consistently in fight camps, the fuck aren't they really? In pardon my French, in a word, where if they said, listen, okay, to change my life, if they were willing to maybe take like 6 months out or 4 months out, or maybe ideally 6 months, say give them a bit of a bigger period of time, if they increase their calories and stayed at them calories for a bit, when they would having like, if they went from say 1,600 calories and they kept increasing them and he ended up on 4,000 calories, but they kept working out, kept exercising, trying to maintain weight, even if it weren't maintained, it was growing gradually slightly, but not fucking drastically. Now if they've hit that baseline of like 4,000 calories, say, and they've got a high output every day, but it's not insane, then if they was to say, right, okay, we kept it like that for a bit, if they were to then drop down to 3,000 and intensify the exercise a little bit, we're getting back to where we needed to be.
That's basically like the kind of principle of reverse diet. Sometimes it's not as like, that's like the real like simplified what we'd want in an ideal scenario.
But it's not always that way.
It's not always that way, but it's a good tool to use where, you know, and it's also getting that that buy-in from the fighter, saying like, look, like a lad who just fought in one championship in the weekend I work with, it's like, right, I want you to get back straight onto a diet now. So we're doing that reverse diet. So say he was having, for example, 1,600 calories in the final few weeks of ICAM. Okay, we're going to start off on 1,800. Track his weight. You know, the weight's not massively increasing. Next week we'll go to 1,800, then 2,000. Then to we get to a point where the weight's kind of stable and we go, okay. And then as you said, in an ideal scenario, once we start the fight camp again, you know, they're maintaining that weight on that set amount of calories. They can, once we drop the calories, the weight will start dropping again. But that is like a very simplified version. So it doesn't always happen, but it's the education and saying, look, if you know you're going to be fighting again in a few more months, why make it harder for yourself? And I get like people, you know, the cost of working with nutritionists and paying, you know, you're paying for the fight camp and then you want to get back on board. But from my experience, the people who are at the top of the game, they're the ones who are on it all year round, regardless if they're in and out of fight camp.
Consistency.
So
is key, isn't it?
As I said to you before about treating everyone the same, you've got to apply. If you're serious about your career, whether you're amateur or pro or whatever, you want to take your career seriously, then you've got to adopt the best strategies to do that.
Getting from A to B the quickest to what everybody wants. We want to get from there to there, but if you don't want to pay for a nutritionist or you don't want to follow the guidelines correctly, then it's going to be a wavy line to get where you want to go. And what they could learn off you and have you, by having you on board, could get them the results they want quick time. And it mightn't be fucking fixed overnight, but they're going to get there in the fastest possible way. But then the next camp and the next camp's going to be easier. Eventually they'll get routine, you know what to do, and they'll be educated. They'll know how to make weight. Where if they're trying to wing it, well, fight camp 1 might go fucking wrong and you just about make it. Fight camp 2's the same until eventually it's like, listen, you need to get someone on board here and do this right, or you're just going round in circles wasting your time.
Well, I have people now who've been with 9-10 camps, and we know exactly where they're at. We know exactly how much they're going to sweat or lose in the weight cut. We know we just got everything dialed in, and that's from working with someone continuously. Then you get that data. Someone's just coming in, they've got a big weight cut, and they sign up, and then they fuck off again and say maybe the next couple of fights they do it themselves, and they come back again because they're struggling. It's like we've got nothing. You've got no
rapport with the fighter.
Yeah, we've got nothing to work off. We're just like, it's just like
fits and spurts, stopping and starting.
Yeah, just stopping and starting. And people are like, right, every fight camp, I'm going to invest in something that I'm trying to take seriously. You know, I'm like my plans aren't particularly expensive, so like the way I look at things, like if you're, you know, people go out, people buy clothes and all that. Like, there's definitely like, you know,
how bad you want it.
There's trade off, isn't it? Everything in life, there's always a trade off, or what would you rather do, or you know, go out and have a meal, or you want to invest in.
I recently had Kurt Wiggins on, and he's just won a senior ABA title. Shout out to Kurt. geezer, and trained with him for a while, and he was like mediocre, it's fair to say, do you know what I mean? And he was fighting at like higher weights. He was doing 64, and he won the title at 54. So he was competing like a lot heavier than he needed to be, and he's got down over time. But he was saying, like, once he stepped into that elite mindset and realised, like, he was like, I worked backwards to hit the goal. So I thought, well, I want to be a champion. Well, what do champions do? And I started living like a champion before I became one. So I realised that, you know, I've got to eat like one, I've got to sleep like one, I've got to train like one, and success leaves clues. 100%. You know, if you look at what anyone who's achieved anything great in these disciplines, they've got stuff in common.
Yeah. Well, I seen a really good quote on a book where they're saying, think about, like, talking about trade-offs in life, and they talk about, think you've got a camping stove and there's 4 stoves, and you can only keep 2 of them. You can't keep half your family, and then you can't have your social life, and then you can't have your work balance, and you can't have your training. There's got to be things where you've got to dim down and turn off to focus on other things. And that's the thing I got to kind of apply for like my business and stuff. Like, there's always got to be a trade-off. You can't go out every weekend with the lads, but then still train them, and then still, but I've had aspirations to be a world champion. There's just, can't happen.
It's either that or it's that.
So there's got to be trade-offs, and I think people may struggle with that, knowing that, you know, you need to. It takes a lot, and sometimes it's a long road to get there.
Well, that's the thing about acceptance and dealing with, like, well, if that's what I want, a lot of people don't want to accept what it's. I spoke to Vinnie Shawman about this on the last podcast. Don't want to accept what it's going to take to get what the results they want.
Yeah.
They think, oh yeah, I'll do that, but yeah, I'll still be able to go out with the lads and that, and I'll still be able to reach it. No, it doesn't work like that. It's like, if you want to achieve these goals, then you've got to put your other desires aside, and this why's got to be bigger, hasn't it? You've definitely got to want it more.
Well, I look at it for myself. I've made lots of sacrifices. I've left countries to pursue me. I lived in Australia, lived on a beach, was like, had the best life ever. But I knew to grow my business, I needed to move and travel around. So I left that. I knew that was a trade-off to do. So I applied like them principles in my life too. To you have to have a trade-off in your life to grow your business. You
practice on what you preach, aren't you?
100%,
you're putting it in. Talking about fight camps, and, you know, saying at the start, like, if the calories are too low because of the diet history and stuff like that. What about when a fighter comes to you and it's like they've gone too heavy to make that weight? So you've got a fighter, he wants to do 69 kilo, and he's coming to you, he's 87, and he's 6 weeks out, and he's like, alright, Peter, you're alright, blah, 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 this, that, and the other, you know, the old, what's your weight, mate? About 83 or something, I don't know. That's the old faithful, innit? Go on then, step on them scales. Oh, 88, I didn't realise it was that heavy. Didn't you? Yeah.
To be honest, I just say no.
Yeah. And then it's like, okay, so I want to make this weight. Point blank, you telling them this is not feasible.
I say it's not feasible, and I don't want to put my career and risking, you know,
your name,
my name for someone who's just
reputation.
Say no. Like there's obviously sometimes when it's within a fine margin, and we're looking and think, right, working out, right, we can potentially do this. But when it's something stupid, like,
what you think's realistic,
I think,
for weight loss,
it all really depends on where you're at, how long you've got, you know, the percentage for away from your fight weight you are. So do you want me to give you a scenario?
And let's talk about there's a difference between, like, losing body fat, and cutting water. For anyone who's watching, a lot of people will be fighters probably who watch this, so they'll know that. But cutting water is one thing, but losing body fat's another. Realistically, for you, what do you think's the maximum safely that an athlete could lose, say, per week, in kilograms, in losing weight, not cutting weight, losing it?
So I'll give you a scenario then. So say someone, once again, the 70 kilo fighter, for example.
Yeah.
And the start and the...
You like the 70 kilo fight, don't you?
It's a nice round number. So
he's all right, isn't he?
It's probably because most people are working.
They are. It's a busy weight class, isn't it? Yeah.
So like, say 70 kilos, they come to me, Peter, 10 weeks out, 80 kilos at the moment. Oh, okay. Well, the range I want you are 1 week out. The sweet spot is like 5 to 8% from your fight weight. So say 5 to 8% is around 70, I think around 75 kilos. So that's our target 1 week out, 75 kilos. So for them weeks previously, we diet down. So that's we work out how much we want you to lose that each week. So then that'll be the reduction of body.
Yeah. So you've got
tissue.
5. So if we've got 5 kilos, right? We're 80 kilos now.
Yeah.
We want to get to 70.
Yeah.
There's a 10 kilo difference there. So we're going to get to 75 before we start cutting.
Yeah.
So we've got 5 kilo to lose in body mass between now and then.
Yeah. So we
want half a kilo a week.
Pretty much.
Steadily.
Yeah.
Half a kilo a week. We get to 75 by the time we're there. We're happy days.
Yeah.
If you've got a fighter at 75 kilo, if I'm fighting next week, Peter, it's Friday now and we're fighting next Friday.
Yeah.
And I'm 75 kilo. And I come to you and say to you, Peter, I need to be 70. Can we make it happen?
Yeah. So that example there, we diet them down. That's when it's saying the importance of like they're having lots of carbohydrates, they're having lots of vegetables, lots of high protein. So when it comes to fight week, we know, right, you've been having 250 grams, 300 grams of carbs a day, you've been having 30, 40 grams of fiber. So one of the first strategies we do 1 week out is reduce the carbs. So 1 gram of carbs binds to 3 grams of water in the body. So carbs are stored as glycogen in the muscle. Some in the liver, some in the brain. So it's mainly stored in the muscle. So 1 gram glycogen binds to 3 grams of water. So think if you're having 300 grams of carbs a day and the water association with that. So that's a strategy you use. So you reduce carbs 5 to 7 days out.
Because hang on a minute, let's roll this back again just to get my brain down this.
Okay.
We're getting 3 grams of water retention.
Yeah, with every
1 gram of carbs.
Yeah, with every gram of carbs.
So,
it's around that.
So
around that
we
number.
had 900. So if we had 300 grams of carbohydrate, we're getting like 900 grams of water retention on top of the 300 grams.
Yeah.
So we're looking around 1200 grams there.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah. It's not like exact pinpoint.
But we're going there or thereabouts.
It's thereabouts. The studies are showing. So say the first strategy, we reducing the carbs. So you typically do like 5 to 7 days out. So there's 2 ways of doing it. You can either reduce your carbs to, say you're having 300 grams of carbs a day, you drop that to under 100 grams a day or 50 grams a day. You're going to get a decent drop in water weight. Also, you can do additional exercise to deplete glycogen stores, the carb stores. So that's any type of high intensity activity. You're burning carbohydrates, so you're burning them carbs in your body. So that's the first strategy to use. That's 5 to 7 days out.
Because the body goes through different stages when you're exercising, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Through burning fats and burning carbohydrates, and there's a crossover line, isn't there?
Yeah. So if you're doing any high intensity, you be fueled by carbohydrates. So that'll be an additional strategy to get that weight off.
Yeah.
It's called acute weight loss. So chronic is the loss of body fat, as we spoke about.
Yeah.
Up until fight week, and then this is the acute stage. So this is manipulation of body water through carbs, and then the second one would be around 3 to 5 days out. Would be reducing fiber. So a lot of fiber gets undigested in the gut. So if you're having lots of vegetables, wholemeal stuff, brown rice, pasta, for example, and you reduce that fiber to like less than 10 grams a day, you're going to lose that water weight associated with the fiber, because it draws when the fiber's undigested, it draws water into the gut. So you don't have any fiber that passes through. You can potentially lose, but with the fiber, it all depends on the intake, what you have previously up till fight week, but you can lose like 1-2% of your body mass. Also with the carbs, you can potentially lose up to like 2-3%. But that's the importance, what I said to you before. That's why you need to be having as high carbohydrates as possible as you can leading into that fight week. And then another strategy would be sodium. So sodium follows water in the body. So if you've been to, I always give the example, you've been to a Chinese and you wake up the next morning and you're like 2 kilos heavier. One would be because you probably had quite a lot of carbs with the water association, and two is because of the sodium. So you hold water when you have a lot of sodium in your diet. So like stripping the sodium back, having like low sodium foods for them final few days, you can potentially lose 1-2% of your body mass. So say you're 5 to 8% out, you do then 3 strategies. Say you're 6%, you've lost 6% doing that. And the final bit would be doing the actual water cut itself. So that whether that would be in a bath or a sauna.
See the water cut?
Yeah.
Are we piling water in that week?
So there's 2 ways of doing it. You can do a water load, which is typically like 100 mil per kilogram of body mass on fight. So say Monday, for example, you weigh in on the Friday, you'd have 100 mil per kilogram of body mass. So
with the 70 kilo fighter.
Yeah, it's 7 litres. And then you do 7 litres Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And
every day, yeah.
Yeah, and Thursday it's like 15 mil per kilo. This is what the researchers, they did a study on it. 15 mil per kilo, which is around a litre on Thursday.
We went from 7 litres Monday, 7 litres Tuesday, 7 litres Wednesday, 1 litre Thursday.
Around 1.2 on the all depending on obviously the body size, but around that on Thursday, and obviously nothing until the weigh-in on the Friday. But
on the Thursday night, is that it? You cut off. There's no water.
It all really depends where you're at. So say you've only got a couple of kilos to do, and the weigh-in's at 2:00 in the afternoon, and you've got 2 kilos to do. There's not really much need to do anything the night before, so you can probably still drink water on the Thursday up until you go to bed. But it all really depends on where people are at.
And you've still got 2 key to do, man.
So like if you've got 2 kilos in the morning, you go, okay, this is like, we know, but we can actually talk about like heat acclimation once we've...
Oh, that's where I'm going to heat acclimation.
So say... the thing is with water, and some people don't like it because it's quite a large volume of fluid. If you're not used to having that amount of water, so what I typically do, if someone doesn't like doing it's just keeping the fluid intake above normal. So say you're having 3 litres a day, have 5 litres a day. You're just keeping it higher than normal and doing the similar kind of strategy.
If you were to load up on the water, would you feel bloated? Could you feel cold? Do you know, because you're putting a lot of water.
It's very variable in terms of like the individual responses. Where some people don't mind doing it. Some people actually makes them feel fuller in fight week. So
will you be pissing loads?
You do, yeah. You piss quite a lot.
Will you be sleepless a little bit because of you go on the toilet? Will you be waking up needing a wee and stuff like that?
But actually, there's been a study that has shown that they did a water loading protocol on, I think it was MMA fighters, to see if it would disrupt sleep, and it showed that actually didn't. But I think the importance of finish them fluids as early as you can. Like, say you don't have your fluids right up until you go to bed. If you finish them off a few hours before, you're less likely to go to the toilet. And then, like, if you're drinking, you're sitting in bed reading your book, still having a litre of water, you're most likely going to be pissing in the middle of the night. So I always say try and finish them fluids quite early on.
Do you know when you were saying before as well, this is just something that was just coming to my mind when you were saying about like the foraging for foods and stuff like that, so we store stuff, yeah? Do you think, when like people say, oh, I'm hungry, like you're angry because you're hungry and stuff like that, and do you think that's associated with like foraging for food because you needed it, so like that puts that instinct there in your body where you're like
potentially, I can't see that. I think
you know what I'm trying to say?
I think from probably like an evolution,
there's a crossover there, from an evolution
point.
That's why you get like,
and it could also be the fact that you're used to eating that often, and then when you don't eat that often,
like, what's going on here?
So you probably,
and you're readying yourself to like go and find that shit. Sorry, it was just coming to my mind. Yeah, so look, we're on the water cut week. We're water loading. Studies have proven that. Doesn't mean that we're gonna lose sleep just due to cutting the water.
To be fair though, there is like people do have like fighters I have worked with, I'm gonna be honest, like they have ended up going for the piss and like that's like that
common
is sad, but some people don't, some people do it, and like that, for example, if that was the case for the fighter work with, okay, we don't really need to like keep the fluid intake that high, maybe drop it down just above normal. It's all just working around the individual.
manipulating things a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can't cut 5 kilo in a week in that.
Yeah, if you get,
you know what
it's all about getting that plan in place beforehand. So you're coming into that fight week fueled, you're hydrated, you're having lots of fibre, you're having lots of carbs, you're having a decent amount of sodium. So like we can strip that back.
Let's talk about fighter feedback. Do you know when they're actually on the scales, Peter? Yeah, and they've made weight. And they're the 70 kilo fighters now, now 70 kilo. And the weighed in, they're on the scale now, they've made weight, they get off the scale. If you're ever there or whatever, depending if they're a high-end athlete, how did they feel? Did they feel depleted? Did they feel drained? Is it different for different fighters?
It's different for different fighters. Some people, I work with some fighters who are just like, let's get on with it, get it done. And there's some people who are moan. I think it's just turning on the individual. Some people have just got that mindset, like, let's get this shit done. And that could be, I've had people moaning, cutting a kilo, and then I've had people cutting
loads, and they
just get on with it kind of thing. So it's very individual. Like,
let's talk about refueling the body and rehydrating.
Yeah.
After a water cut, after we've lost sodium, water, the fibres in the guts, how do we replenish and replace in the best way possible? So when we come to competing, we're ready. So if it's the day before weigh-in, you've got maybe 24 hours, maybe slightly over.
Yeah.
For some of I'd surmise the athletes you're working with, if the cage fighters, usually the day before, isn't it? They weigh in.
Pretty much, yeah.
So they've got 24 hours. If it's a 2 o'clock weigh-in in the afternoon, they may have a little bit longer. They may have 30 hours before they're actually going to be getting in that cage to compete.
Yeah.
How do we go about refueling? What's the best, safest and most efficient way to try and replenish all themselves and everything we've lost?
So the first thing you want to be doing if you've done any kind of water cut is, say you're weighing at 12 o'clock, is getting that fluid back in. Fluid over food. So when you, say you cut a kilo, for example, the recommended fluid, the fluid recommendations are 1.5 times what you've lost. So say you've lost a kilo.
You need 1.5.
You need 1.5 kilos. 1.5 litres, sorry. So what a lot of fighters do is to get the rehydration problem, they mess it up. So say the human body, the water and electrolyte balance is like this. So when you sweat, when you're doing a water cut, you lose water and electrolytes. So say that the water goes down and you lose electrolytes too, but you lose more water than electrolytes. So what a lot of fighters do, they'll weigh in and they'll drink a load of water. So that goes right back up, but they haven't replaced electrolytes. So the body goes, we need this balance to be like that. So when it's like that, they go into fluid overload to the kidneys, filter that out.
Start going for the piss.
Yes, you're going for the piss quite quickly. So you always need to add electrolytes to your fluid. Good things. There's quite a few decent brands out there,
High Five or whatever.
Yeah, they're like Diorite, Hydrolyte. There's SIS tablets, which you can get from actually the supermarkets, really good. So that's a big mistake a lot of fighters do. They weigh in, boom, they'll down that. If you've cut a decent amount of weight and you down that pretty quick, that's going to come out with you. Pretty quick.
So is that a good marker, Peter? If you're going to the toilet and you're going for a wee after if you're replenishing.
Yeah, if you're going for a piss pretty quick, you've done something wrong. You've either drank too quickly, or you've just drank water, or you haven't had the right electrolyte solution. So that'll be the first thing, or the food over fluid the first hour. And then you want to start introducing light snacks. So the carbohydrate recommendations for like a refuel, they've done this on endurance athletes where they've done like a carb load, and the research has shown it's around 10 grams per kilogram of body mass. So once again, 70 kilo guy, you times that by 10, so 700 grams of carbs in that post-weigh period, and you're probably thinking, fuck, that is a lot of carbohydrates. And that's when it's the importance of what carbohydrates you have. So you can't have 700 grams of potatoes because you'd be feeling absolutely shit. You need to be having fast digestion carbs. And this is where the crossover between, say, health and sports nutrition collide a little bit, because the recommended foods are like fast digestion ones, like sports drinks, jellies, cereals, because they're going to get in your system really quick and replenish them glycogen stores that you've depleted throughout that fight week. So it's important to having them and spacing them out throughout that post-weighing period, not having them all in one go. Same with the fluid, spacing them out every hour, you know, light snacks, and then after a couple of hours, then you can introduce a bit more of a solid meal.
More substantial, yeah.
So say someone's cut 2-3 kilos and they weigh in at 12 o'clock. Typically what I'd do is first hour, you want to have like a litre of water with electrolytes, sip that over the hour, and then the second hour would be either something like a couple of Lucasades and some jellies or some cereal, something really light over that second hour, and then an hour after that you can have something a bit more solid, you know, chicken, rice type meal or pasta. You just want to be having this, you want to be slowly introducing them food and fluids, because as I said, eat too quick, you're like, what a lot of fighters do too is they'll just go boom, 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 start eating, and then they're like, I'm absolutely fucked there. They eat the wrong foods, and then that'll displace that new recovery strategy then, because they're too full. They can't eat any more food. So then they can't eat for hours, and then
a lot of fighters just go crackers, don't they? After I've made weight, go ahead, here's the water, bang, let's
I've seen so many times where like,
are you thinking what's he eating? And
I think, should I say something? I think, I can't bother. I've seen it away, and I've seen someone like just drinking. There's a show the other week in Liverpool, and some guy he looked like he cut a bit of weight, and he was drinking pure water. I was like,
what are you doing?
Yeah, and then they're eating like the wrong snacks. Like also with the fibre, when we drop that fibre off our fight week, we don't want to be introducing that post-weigh, and we don't want to be having loads of vegetables and loads of brown rice and that, because that'll slow down digestion and also cause a bit of gut discomfort. So rule of thumb, once you're weighed in, you don't want to be having anything high in fat and fibre, because it slows down digestion. So this is like, you just got to get them fast digesting carbs in for that post-weighing period, and spacing out, because as I said, you can get them 700 grams in. You just got to do at the right times, the right meals, and you can get it in.
How do we know what weight's right for us?
In terms of the fight weight, the thing again about the body comp assessment is
what would you say in terms of body fat you should be getting in there if you were performing at your optimum, Peter, if you were to make the best weight for you?
Well, a lot of the research is showing is if you're around like 8 to 12% body fat, that's like a good body fat to walk around with, like an elite athlete. But as I said, like before, with the people who are way too heavy and they're already really, really lean, you're not getting that. You're not doing that chronic weight loss phase. You're not dropping the body fat. You're tapping into your muscle then. So as I mentioned, your muscles important for power.
And when you make weight, like, I know when I've made weight before and done it wrong, in the sense of like I've made weight, been right on the scales, but I've still had like body fat where, like, in the places where you don't want, like around the belly area, and looking like my arms are skinny compared to what they were before. Like before I went in the camp, where I look stronger in other places. My body composition look better. Do you think that's down to conditioning, or do you think that's nutrition as well?
I think it's both, really. I think it's both. You know, a lot of things now with S&C, fighters having S&C coaches, and they're doing a lot more of that side of things. It's like an added benefit. You're having your nutrition right, and you're doing that.
Strength and conditioning, right. It's all, there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle, isn't there?
100%. It's like so like multifaceted in terms of like the S&C, the nutrition, the mindset. When you had Vinny on, you know, talking about how important
tying everything together.
It's just a cog on a big wheel where you need to get them all right, because you could get your nutrition right, S&C right, but then your mindset,
if your mind's not right, so you forget about the rest of it.
So that's why it's like cool to. Well, I know Vinny. I'm like really good mates with Vinny, and the stuff he does with the mindset, and then I'm a lot of S&C coaches I'm close with, because they work with some of the fights I work, and it's just all intertwined. And the thing is with a fighter as well, if you play for the football team there's a whole team. As you play for Liverpool, you've got the S&C coach, you've got the physiotherapist, you've got it's all there.
Everyone's there.
A fighter a lot of the time, or for years and years and years, it's just been the fighter and the coach.
Yeah.
That's been nutrition, that's been S&C. So it's this week, the coach did it this way, he did this way, blah, blah, blah. And now luckily more people are investing in the nutrition, the S&C, and taking it serious.
And that's like, as I was saying to you before, you're miles behind and you're off the pace of, if you're coming up against an athlete and you're just training with your coach in the gym, and that athlete's got a strength and conditioning coach, got a nutrition coach, got a mindset coach, he's got whoever he's doing his disciplines with, different coaches, whatever that may be. When he comes, he's going to be bringing a lot more reasons to win with him, innit? Do you know what I mean?
And sometimes talent does only go so far.
Hard work, dedication.
100%.
That's Floyd Mayweather. Please dispel this myth for me as well of like sweat, losing weight through sweat. You see people who are in the gym, I'm just going to lose a bit of weight, lad, and throwing sauna suits on and getting a steam
in just like a normal scenario.
In normal scenarios, like it's different if you're coming up to actually competing. Then if you're losing, if you're gonna get in the sauna, you're gonna lose weight, you're sweating it out of you, and
then you just put it back in. Well, the thing is as well,
or you see people running in sweatsuits, you know what I mean, or training in fucking bin bags and all that. Please just tell me.
This is one of the things that really annoys me, actually. I see this, and you see people in the gym, and they're wringing out the sweat, heavy session in the gym. So all that means is the sweat can't evaporate from the body because the temperature. So say you're in a really humid room, there's 20, 30 people in a small room, and you're doing like a workout. The only reason why you're soaking wet with sweat is because your sweat can't evaporate. Because there's that much humidity in the room. So when it's humid, sweat sticks to the skin. So it just wet sweat on your body. It doesn't determine the quality of your workout if you're wringing your top with sweat. It doesn't mean that you're like some kind of savage. You're just in a hot room. So like when I see people do that, it's like that doesn't really mean anything.
I know, it's madness. And they're wringing the tops out on social media.
Wringing the tops out, look, the workout I've done, blah blah. It's just because when you're in a humid environment, the water vapor pressure from the skin to the actual environment, the sweat just sticks to the skin, and that's why your top's really wet, because it can't evaporate. That is all it is.
Okay, let's talk about, imagine if we were in a room where it wasn't as hot and humid, and there was less people in there. Say there was just me and you, and we were savages, and we done a fucking killer workout, you know what I mean? And we were wringing our shirts out because we lost that amount of sweat that left our body through hard work. Then I go home. Well, then I get a shower. I go home. I eat. I drink.
It just goes back on again.
It's there again, innit? Yeah. So when you see people, I'm going for a run in a sweatsuit.
Yeah.
Have a nice time.
You'd actually burn more glycogen in the heat. So you're actually burn more carbs.
Do you think you're making it more difficult?
It's just
to exercise.
It just makes it more uncomfortable.
That's what I mean.
People I've seen a lad in the gym last week, and he had this jacket on. He's working out. I said, "Are you warm there? Do you want to be warm last week?" I put a sweat on. I was thinking, it doesn't really. You don't want to
say nothing yet. No, because I've seen people like they've got like the trackie on, the socks over the trackies, got the trainees on, a woolly hat on, they're hood up, they're in the gym. You're like, what are you doing? They're like, I'm making weight, bro. And I'm thinking to myself, like, this is just something I needed to ask you, because I'm thinking to myself, I've just always thought to myself, like, you're going to go home and you're going to put that back on the second you have your dinner, you know what I mean?
It's a different scenario. Say you're a fighter and they need to cut their own fight week and they're running the sweatsuit to cut weight. In a way, if you water and you're putting that back in, but in the heat, you do burn more glycogen. So in a way, you can deplete your carb stores a little bit more running in the heat. But if you're on the Monday and you're running this, you don't need to run the sweatsuit on the Monday because
you're too far away for the sweatsuit. It's gonna come back on.
And this is a big thing with cause I work with quite a lot of Thai boxers now, and the Thai way is like running the sweatsuit from the Monday, and you're saying to them now it doesn't make a difference. And then Thais they're stuck in that way for years and years. And luckily, I work with a couple of Thai boxing gyms in Thailand, what I'm actually going to next week, and they've actually listened to my methods now and go, we're not doing the sweatsuit runs, we're doing it all the night before, the morning.
Because it's developing and they don't have to put themselves through this
and the same thing, Thailand's really humid. The sweat's not going to evaporate, it's going to stick to the skin. Yeah, he's soaking wet with sweat, but that's only because and when the sweat stays the skin, you can't lose that heat then, so your body heats up quicker and makes it more uncomfortable. So yeah, anyone who's running in a sweatsuit, just
swear it.
Or anyone who rings the tops out for the workout, like fucking stop it.
Heat acclimation. Got me that one. Heat acclimation. Teaches about heat acclimation. What is it? How can we use it? How is it useful for fighter? Educate me, please. And anybody who's watching.
So heat acclimation is basically adapting to a warm environment. So there's two ways of acclimatizing to heat. So there's acclimation, which is like a kind of using the sauna or the bath, so not a natural environment. And then heat acclimatization is in an actual
hot place.
So like when people go and training in Marbella or blah blah,
or they're getting acclimatized to this heat.
So the way I look at it is heat acclimation is, say you're a fighter in the UK and you need to cut weight, and it's the middle of winter and you haven't had any heat exposure since your holiday with the lads in Ibiza in July, and you jump in that bath to lose the weight. Everything's going to be really slow to switch on. You're going to get a rapid rise in your heart rate. You're going to get a rapid rise in your core temperature. It's going to be overall really uncomfortable. You're going to sweat more electrolytes. So just the overall experience is just not going to be great because you haven't been used to that heat. So heat acclimation is just getting used to that, getting used to being in a warm environment. So simple thing I do when someone signs up, when I know roughly what I think they're going to cut in the weight, right, get in the sauna or the bath a couple of times a week. And then with the heat acclimation, you get a lower core temperature, which sweating starts. The overall thermal comfort of that, so it's a lot more comfortable experience. You get less of like a cardiovascular strain on the body because you just get more and more used to that environment. You lose, your sweat rate's increased, so you sweat more. Also, you sweat less electrolytes, so you lose less sodium. So what happens is sodium gets like reabsorbed back. Sodium's the main electrolyte lost in the sweat. So with heat acclimation, sodium actually gets reabsorbed back in the sweat gland, so you lose less. So you need less of an aggressive rehydration strategy. So just simply go into the sauna or the bath a couple of times a week, tracking your data, like what have you lost, don't weigh yourself before and after, don't have any fluids, and track what you've lost. And I've seen like massive changes in people's overall weight cut when they've done that for 8-10 weeks. They get in that bath or sauna, like, I've done this for the past God knows how long. Easy, not easy, but it's a lot more comfortable. Whereas you're going in blind.
Yeah, if you get me and I'm not used to heat, and I'm not used to that discomfort, that intensity. If you're especially when your carbs have been depleted, especially when you are at the end of a camp and you are tired, nervous energy is starting to kick in a little bit. You're getting closer to fight. You know it's time. Like, you've got to, there's no ifs or buts or coconuts, you've got to make the weight, haven't you? You know what I mean? So there's that pressure element there, and then if you're not used to that heat,
you just feel like shit.
That's just going to make it horrible, isn't it?
It's all like the thermal comfort. So these things in the body called heat shock proteins. So heat shock proteins are basically described, say, like a security guard in a nightclub, and say
I like your analogies, Pete.
when you get exposed to heat.
Tell me about these security guards in the body.
So thing when you go, you jump into that sauna and it's really uncomfortable, and like you have to cut a lot. Think about
all the security
a big party bus of people just storming into that club. The security guards are overwhelmed, so the security guards are the heat shock proteins. So when you do heat acclimation, you're getting a greater expression of them heat shock proteins. So you're adding more security guards onto the nightclub. So your body can then handle that work, that increase in heat.
Yeah, everyone can come in.
Everyone can come in because because it's protecting.
Yeah, the venue's okay.
The venue's okay, yeah. So the thing called the venue's the body's cell, and the security guards are the heat shock proteins.
Yeah.
So when you do the heat acclimation, you get a greater expression of them heat shock proteins, and it just protects the cell, because what actually happens when you do too big of a weight cut or exposed to heat, you can get heat stroke and heat illness, and you can die from all stuff like that. So there's so many benefits in terms of the heat acclimation. I said to people, the sweat, you get a less.
Do you know your sweat response? When you touched on that with me there, the people have a higher sweat response than others, so you may sweat faster than me.
Yeah, 100%. And that's not. And
is that a good thing or a bad thing? Say if you can sweat faster, is that an advantage or no?
Well, in terms of the weight cut, so say you had two people doing the heat acclimation at the same time, one could lose a kilo in 21, one could lose 400 grams. It's not necessarily a bad thing, it's just knowing, we know then, when it comes to the water cut, right? You
need longer in that sauna, or you need longer in the heat. So if I was to sweat faster, would I need less time in the heat than you? Say if me and you were both 71 kilos and we both want to be the 70 kilo fighter, and I sweat quicker than you do, and we both jump in at the same time, am I going to hit 70 kilo quicker than you do?
You're gonna hit it quicker, because people have got a greater density of sweat glands in the body, all depending on your body size, surface area. Females typically sweat less than males,
so that's a massive advantage in my mind. If you can sweat faster, and you've been doing the heat acclimation, when you get in there, the likelihood is it's going to be more comfortable and less time.
Yeah, it's gonna come off quicker. So like them doing it, I'll get them to track data throughout the fight camp, and then it comes to the water camp. We go, okay, well, he's been losing around a kilo in 20 minutes, and he needs to lose 2.5. Well, it's probably going to take maybe 3 stints in the sauna, or we're not going in blind. We're not just going in, he needs 2 kilos. Just gotta get in the sauna. You have no idea how quick he's that.
Gonna take.
And it could take so much longer.
How long on average would it take to lose? Say if I'm 75 at the start of the week and I'm gonna do 70. If I started that week at 75, when I actually come to cutting the water, when I'm actually coming to like 24 hours before or whatever, before the weigh-in, what weight would I be getting in the bath at? Maybe like 73, 72.
It depends on the individual.
Say we'll go right in the middle. Say I'm getting in at 72 and a half. I'm getting in the bath at 72 and a half. How long would you be expecting me to be staying in that bath?
It's so variable between people. I've had guys lose like 1.8 in half an hour. I've had people lose a kilo in an hour. It's just so variable. And also there's sex differences as well, where females typically have a lower sweat rate than males, because they have the sweat gland. They actually have more. Females tend to have more sweat glands than males, but they're not as active. So females typically take longer to sweat, and they sweat less. Also with the differences in the menstrual cycle too, like fluid dynamics in different phases. So that's also important as well. If there's like a female fighter, where different phases of the cycle can influence your core temperature. So say one of the phases of the cycle is the luteal phase, which is past, say, day 14, and you get a natural increase in your core temperature. So your set point is higher in that phase of the cycle. So say you're a female wanting to cut weight, and you're doing a big weight cut,
and
your body temperature is typically higher then. So every percent of body mass you lose through dehydration, your core temperature goes up about like 0.25 degrees Celsius. So say you're already at a higher core temperature during that phase, and you're cutting a large amount of weight, you're at greater risk.
Getting hotter and hotter.
You're greater risk for heat illness and heat stroke. So it's all like...
what's the temperature for the bath?
It's around, say, 38 to 42 degrees. If you go actually over 44, it can actually cause like 3rd-degree burns. What a lot of fighters do though, every time I've spoken to a fighter and they've gone, "Oh, I hate the bath. I hate doing the bath." I'm like, "Have you ever monitored the temperature?" When you thought, "No, I've just got in the bath really hot."
That's what I was going to say.
And that temperature could be like, I've monitored. I've just my job, putting the temperature gauge in, and it's 50 degrees, and like with a fighter who hasn't got any thermometers, and they just jump in. No wonder it feels like shit.
Yeah, because they don't know. They're just like, what was the bath? It was hot.
Yeah, it doesn't actually need. That's one thing. It doesn't need. It doesn't need to be that hot, and like you just jump in and not like for the sake of getting a thermometer from Boots, one little duck ones. I've had to get one before, so like the kids ones, because we haven't had one.
You've just been there. It's like,
just thrown it in. So that's one thing. The temperature of the bath doesn't need to be that hot.
Do you have mad experiences like that, Peter? You know, like in hotels with fighters and stuff like that, cutting weights and you're doing mad shit like that. You know what I mean?
I've got a funny story.
Go on, lay it on us.
So I had a lad fighting for the world title in Germany.
Yeah.
And when he had a bath in his hotel, and he had a reasonable amount of weight to lose. And then what typically happens because the temperatures in the baths in the hotel are quite like unpredictable. They can be warm 1 minute and then they can be too cold the next, and the weight wasn't coming off him. So right, we need to just go to a sauna. There's a sauna across the road. Went into the sauna, paid for the day pass, went in. I walked in, looked at like,
no one's got nothing on.
No one had. I'm sure I'd have seen some bird naked in the shower. Then it was the biggest naked spa I've ever seen. The barman was naked, everyone was there. I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. So I didn't go bollock, or like he had to, because the sauna was. It was in Germany, and like the sauna was. I've never seen a sauna so big. When everyone got out, there was like 300 people coming out of the sauna. It must have just gone on for ages, and yeah, that was the sitting in.
I knew that was what you were going to say when you said that then, because Germany, it just come two and two together in my head, because it happened to me and my mate, but in a different sense. We were staying in a hotel in Frankfurt, and we just said, yeah, we'll just go and jump in the sauna and that, lad, innit? You know, we had a little swim, and then when we went to get in the sauna and that, we opened the door, and it was just like, there was all birds in there naked and that, and like, the two of us, like big kids, we've sat down, and like they're all sitting behind us, because it was like benches, you know, coming down. And I can just see my man sitting next to me, and his shoulders are just shaking, and I know he's laughing, and I'm gonna start laughing now. We're like big kids, so I've had to get out and like walk around the corner and laughing my head off, you know, like when you're in trouble in school or something. Then he's come out, then he's laughing, and he's like, "Ah, shit," you know. And we had a laugh, we had a scream with it. It's funny, you know.
Yeah, we went in, and he still had I think he had about 2 to go, and I was sitting outside, but like the barman was naked. Everyone, it was the maddest thing ever. And I'm watching him in the sauna. He's like right when you come in, and I'm just watching him, just checking he's okay. And then like these German fellas come up to me and start to, what are you doing? Because I had like my heart rate monitored, all that. So they didn't have a clue what was going on. Yeah. I was like, oh, he's cutting weight for the fight, blah, blah, blah. And then I started speaking to him, and the next minute, these like 10 German guys. I'm sitting down, by the way. These 10 big German guys, and they're sat there, and I'm just like, sound. And then like I'd tell them about everything there for like 10 minutes. And then I went to went to the fight the next day. And I was like, I'm just going to go on a bit of a wander, because in the changing room sometimes, just go on a bit of a wander, sit down, just have a bit of time to myself before they fight. Get
rid of the mental scars.
And then I get a tap on the shoulder. It's them German guys who were talking to me when we got tickets after you spoke to us. We decided to go. I was just like, but I've had
Guten Tag.
I've had so many where I've had water system. I had to cut weight in Dubai once. I had a lad who was working, he was on Love Island, and he was in like a celebrity boxing match. It was actually the same card as Floyd Mayweather as well, which was pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah, I met Floyd Mayweather and all, that was boss.
Did he, yeah?
And Andrew Tate was there. It was like random thing, and then we had to cut weight, and the hotel didn't have a sauna. Nowhere was open, so we had to use this like media girl's apartment in Dubai Marina, because he knew it. And then we ended up cutting the weight. But there was something wrong with the water system, so the bath water was yellow. So we was just sitting in like this yellow bath, and like, fuck it out. But
did you cracking jokes and not stop pissing in the bath and all that?
And he was like, it was just one of them like, mad experiences. Yeah, I've had like, that's probably them two probably the maddest. But like I've done like a UFC weight cut in Singapore. I've been to Singapore twice to do weight cuts. Wow. And like just winning at that kind of level, it's like the pressure's just, it's insane. When I first done it, like the first year of doing my business, I went to a UFC way, and I went to one championship one, or the UFC one, sorry, and I was like, fucking hell. Like,
Who were the fighters in the UFC?
I was working with a lad called Jack Della, Madalena. He's fighting this weekend, Kevin Holland. He's from Perth. And we're doing his weight cut there.
And was the weight cut a big one?
No, it was actually all right.
Was it?
It was like a year into doing my business. And
and you're like,
there,
we cannot get this wrong, because if we get this wrong, it's on you, Peter, you know what I mean?
That's it. And like, just going there and just being like, obviously you get into this space to work with, like, to go to that level, and like actually being there in Singapore, this massive hotel, and like seeing all the fighters there, it was class. Like,
do you know it's something like that, Peter, and they get in touch with you to get you on board, you know, for the first time, where like, how did that come about? Did you get a message on Instagram? What happened?
What, like the first fighter?
Yeah, like big fighter like that, you know what I mean, where it's like UFC job.
It was mad for me, because I did, like in school, and I was just a knobhead in school, didn't finish with any GCSEs and like that, and then
I wanted to touch about your life a little bit earlier on. Tell us about your childhood. Like, you were growing up, what were you like? What were your parents like? Social circles, what were you like in school? Tell us it all.
In school, I was just like a typical lad. Thought I was a bit of a scally and all that. So like, just normal like that. Went to
Where was you born?
Garston. So I'm from Garston.
You're from Garston.
Just by Garston Park, yeah.
Was you born in Mill Road, or was you hospital, or was you born?
I was born in. I think it's been knocked down in town now.
Yeah,
at the back of town.
Yeah, Mill Road. Yeah,
it's Mill Road. Yeah. That's where I was born. Then, yeah, normal childhood for me. Went to a decent primary school, and then my mum didn't want me to go to all the comp schools. My mum got me to St Margaret's, got me into St Margaret's, blagged that I went to church and all that. Just St Margaret's in Egworth. Yeah. Went to St Margaret's, and I was like, this is like, everyone was just, do you know when you're a kid, like, these are all like gimps and all that, and you're like one of the lads and all that. Like, I did nothing in school. I was just a knobhead, got suspended and all that, and then left school and I got 2 GCSEs. I got 1 in PE and 1 in history, and everything else just failed everything. And then I got a job in a garden centre on Allen Road, like a DIY store. I was working there for like 3 years. I always remember this fella came in, he was like a new manager, and I was just like 18, 19, thought I was Mr. Big Bollock, shaved head and all that, and like this fella comes in and goes like, what are you doing? I was like, what do you mean? What the fuck are you doing with your life here? You can't be working here all your life. Sort your shit out, and walked away. And I was like, first day, I was just like, whoa. Well, first I was like, what the fuck he talking to? And then I remember that thing just
he was Bruce Almighty, lad.
He just sat with me. It was mad, you know. Like, I remember going home that night, and I was thinking, fucking hell, yeah, he's right, you know. Like, and then I was looking into options to what I could do, and then I had to resit all my GCSEs. So I did. I went to it. My mum got me into like this college that you go 1 day a week, and they do like maths and English, and I had to resit my maths and English and science. Did that for the first year, and then I applied for the college, and I went to Vauxhall Road and did like an access course in sport, and like them access courses get you into uni. So it's all like older adults.
Was you sporty anyway, or not really?
Yeah, I'd always played like sport, footy. Always been that kind of just active person.
So that's what sort of drawn you towards picking sports?
Yeah, that literally. To be honest, we're looking at it now, I probably think I didn't really know much else.
Yeah,
I didn't really know what else to do.
I
needed something to do, so I was like, did it, and then did the access course, and I got into uni, got into Edge Hill, and I remembered all the options. You got to pick a course to do, because I was just happy to be actually doing something.
I'm happy to be here.
I was literally like, and then there's a few options of like sports studies, sports development, sports science, and I just went, pick sports science. So went to Edge Hill. I remember the first few weeks, like sports science, like, fucking hell, this is hard. This is like another level thing, all stats and all mad shit. And the first year I really struggled, and then I failed two of my modules, and they said you need to pass it or you have to resit the year. And I the shit got, like, gave me a bit of a kick up the arse, and I was like, fuck,
shit got real. I
need to, like, I kind of wasted all this time.
I can't be with that fella coming back up to me on that car park saying, what the fuck are you doing with your life again?
But you know, the funny thing is, I actually was working in that garden centre all through uni. And so then I remember just like proper cracked down, started studying loads, ended up getting really good grades in my first year. It's like, actually, I'm all right to this. And then just that little kind of like bit of motivation, you know what, I can actually do something. And then
You applied yourself.
Yeah, I just applied myself, and then got into it in second and third year, and then I finished, and then I picked to do my masters in sports nutrition, and went to Chester Uni for a year.
Did you know where you were going with that at that point?
No. I think it was just I thought, oh, it's the right kind of path to do that, and the masters didn't really. It kind of winging it still. I think at the time, I just wanted to do something. I felt like I needed to do something.
You needed to do something.
And then once I finished my masters, I was like, right, I want to work with athletes. I want to do this and that. And I remember seeing this lad on I think it was Instagram. I was like, I want to be like him. I want to work with these athletes. So I set up my page. This is 2015. Set it up, got this shitty little logo, made an Instagram page, made a Facebook page, started posting, just didn't have a clue.
What was it called? Was it Condition Nutrition?
Condition Nutrition, yeah. Started posting like random shit, with the hope I'd get something, absolutely nothing. But I thought in my head, I'll finish uni and this is it. I've done now, I've reached the top. 6 months. I had to go to the dole after like 4 months because I just couldn't.
Yeah.
And then I was pulling and I was like, fucking hell.
What am I going to do?
And then this is when it takes like random turn. I was posting loads of like just pictures of food out, and then this woman messaged me on Facebook saying, "Oh, do you cook meals for people?"
You went, yeah.
I was like, yeah. So, I was like, yeah.
Damn right, I do.
Like, yeah, I do. So I remember saying, this is like 7 years ago, and I said to my mum, yeah, I'm gonna start cooking meals. I remember my mum's kitchen, whipped up a week's worth of meals for this woman.
Yeah.
Delivered to her. She put me onto her mate. Next minute, within 3 months, I'm doing like 500 meals. It was fucking mad. Like I would just like took off. Obviously, you posting all the stuff. I went from cooking in my mum's kitchen to getting a unit. Or like I rented a unit in a school, just like the kitchen.
Yeah.
And then probably 6 months in, I was doing really well, but it wasn't what I wanted to. I didn't really.
Yeah, didn't want to pursue that.
I didn't want to pursue that. It was just one of the things where it came across.
Do you think you could have excelled with it if you wanted to, but you just didn't? You didn't want to go to that next.
It was graft, you know.
Yeah.
Like I remember getting up on a Saturday and I was just getting the food, driving to. There was Booker. I used to go to that Booker there. I used to go to the Aldi there. I was prepping all the food, and then it was getting really big, which was boss like to see, but it just wasn't what I really wanted to do. And I'd always wanted to go to Australia. Like I'd always like loved to go. And I remember
thinking if I can make enough dough out of this. Sorry, Sandra. Sorry, Claire. You're gonna be starving.
I thought to myself though, I was like,
little old Peter the chef.
The thing is with me, I just thought, you know what? I'm gonna go to Australia. So like literally within 6 weeks, I randomly just packed it all in, flew to Australia on my own. Just didn't know a soul in Australia. Just went, fuck it, I'm gonna go to Australia. Went there, pissed around for a few years, did a bit of traveling, backpacking, living in hostels, the whole like that kind of spiel when you go out there. And then 3 years in, I was like, fucking hell, like I've just fucked around, worked on building sites, doing all the shit.
Was you doing enough though while you were there?
I wasn't doing anything to do with me like,
nutrition, but I mean, was you doing enough to live in terms of money wise?
Just taking over, but then I just got to the point where I was like, I fucking hell, studied for that long. I've gone from, and then I remember starting just posting more stuff. The Condition Nutrition page was there, but I'd like
it's been left.
It was sporadic, Joe. Just a post every, just not ask
once every 3 weeks.
Yeah, that kind of thing. And I was
just sitting in the local cafe and go, that looks nice.
Yeah. Just it literally was like that kind of shit. Yeah. Just lazy posting. I was like, I need to sort something out here, and I just fully just went, I'm going to make something out of it here. And at the time, I just split up with my ex as well. So when you split up with someone, it gives you that kick up your ass.
It was a godsend for you.
It was like a godsend kind of thing. I was like, all right, I need to sort something out here. And then that kind of gave me motivation to push it. And then started messing loads of gyms and people. And then I remember like a couple of fighters messaging me on Instagram saying, do you work with fighters? Do this? I was like, yeah, sounds. And then literally just went like straight to God, like 2.5 years ago, and from that to where it is
now. Where you're at now. And it's flying now.
It's mad how like little things happen in your life and little moments where like it's crazy. Because I think of like finishing school and then you do all that work to get to your master's, like proper proud. I can't believe I got a master's, left school with nothing. And then went down on the door, and then you're up again, and you're down and up.
It's amazing.
It's mad how life just like pans out.
Do you know what? Not a lot of people have got a plan. It's very, very rare I ever sit someone down and say, like, did you? And they're like, yeah, I knew what I wanted to be. I knew I was going to be that. 9 times out of 10, people sort of fall into things. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
It's like you just found that way, and it was like, and then it ends up being the path that you're meant to be on. That's your path that you needed to be on, and you seem very well. You seem happy now, and you seem very well suited to what you're doing.
Yeah, it's one of the things where it's just grown, and like as your business grows, you want to learn more, and
you've got depth in knowledge, Peter. Definitely. Like when I talk to you, I can see that, and I can see by the quality of the content that you put out, you really do know what you're talking about. Because I've been around gyms for a long time, and I've been around combat sports myself for a long time, just knocking around the gym, and you can see that you've applied yourself, you've put the work in.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah,
you can see that.
Yeah, it's a margin. As you said, sometimes you just fall into things, and sometimes when you don't have a plan B,
yeah,
like
it's got to work.
It's just got to work. Like I remember I was in Australia when that happened. My ex had just gone home. She'd been there for a couple of years, and it was like everything was just like I need to. Like I had no option to do it, and then I always find in life where you haven't got no other option. You need to put everything in, all in. Once you go all in,
that's it. You've
like,
got if there's no plan B, it's better.
Yeah,
because the plan A's got to work.
There's a thing like Tony Robbins says, like you got to burn the boats if you want to take the island. Burn the boats. So you got no other option.
Did you burn all the boats?
There's literally had no other options, and then because I was working on the building site, and I remember saying I had like a shit day. I was doing just labouring jobs, and one day I was like, "Fuck this! I'm not doing this shit anymore." And like I was like, I went into the office and said, I'm not coming back, and then that was just my thing. Then like I had a bit of savings, and I just used them savings for like I literally went down to like the last like couple $100, and then that's when it started. Like it's just mad the way things, and then it just starts like that.
When you were working for the first time with the UFC fighter, you mentioned him before, Jack Della. Was that a real pinch yourself moment? Was that like, fuck, I've come off a building site, pretending I'm Chef Pete back at home, and that the people are still looking at me in the school kitchen. Fuck's he gone? and now like you're in Dubai, in the marina, and you're helping a UFC fighter prepare.
It's mad because like it's quite funny how stories like align as well. Because with that Jack, he got offered the fight. He was from Perth. I reached out to him, and a few months into the business, like doing it like kind of properly, and he was in the Dana White Contender Series fight. He's local from Perth. Started working, reached out to him. He won the fight, got in the UFC, won on his debut, and like
wow,
it was mad how things just like that little local fighter. He excels, and then people, once you get that, I always find. It's always that first stage when you push, and then you get that fighter, and then it comes.
Do you know what's
a lot
insane?
easier.
It's like when you really needed the Jack Dellas of the world, they're not around. Like when at the level you met him at, he was around. But like if you wanted a big fighter now, like someone who was current, if you were here now and you needed and you were in Oslo or whatever, and you needed the outreach to get out there, if you thought, right, I need Paddy, I need Molly, I need Aspinall, and one of them fighters, they're very, very hard to get on board with. So it's like when you most need them, they're hard to get. But when you get one, you can get 10 off the back of one. It's like, oh yeah, do you work with him? Oh yeah, Sam. Yeah, why didn't you just roll down into me DMs last fucking week, Molly? I've been waiting 6 fucking months with it. Or 2 years or 3 years.
Well, it's mad of him because he won. And then I started working with a Thai boxer over here, and he was fighting for the WBC world title. And I was in Australia at the time. This is 18 months ago. I'd lived there for 4.5 years at the time. I hadn't been home, like beach lifestyle, and I thought, right, there's a point where my business is going to come here where it's going to hit a bit of a wall. I need to go and experience and get that kind of, get myself out there. So I came home, just once again, random decision, decided to come home. The lad who fought for the world title fought like 2 weeks later, he won his world title. I was there, the emotional, I was like, I need to be here. So I decided to come home and like I just go to every event, push my name out there, go show me face, try and like speak to people, just do everything I can. And then, as I said, just that first point where you're pushing, and now the kind of clientele just come to me now with like, if you'd have said to me two and a half years ago, we'd have 11 world champions on your books, I'd be like, fucking hell, like, what are you on about? But it's just happened. It's mad, like how things just turn out in your life.
Where do you see condition nutrition going, Peter?
That's a good question, you know, because I always think I don't have like, I 6 months I want to be here. I just kind of keep on putting the work in.
Live for the moment.
The opportunities, if you put that graft in, the opportunities are going to come about naturally. So it's just continue growing the page and knowing it's not, I'm in here for the long haul. It's not like a short term, you know, massive growth and then it all fall out. Like this is like a long term thing, and you know, future getting people on, working more like top quality fighters, and just keep on growing really.
They say, don't they, success is never owned, it's rented, and it rents you every day.
Yeah.
And
just gotta show
it's never
up.
a true word, you just got to keep showing up, and if you're resting on what you've done yesterday, you can dine out on it for so long, but tomorrow, eventually your luck's going to run out. You've just got to keep working today for tomorrow, haven't you?
Well,
I'm a true believer in that.
100%, and like I've moments where, you know, started working with like Liam Harrison, John Haggerty, and thinking,
Liam Harrison, big name in that world, isn't he?
Yeah,
Definitely.
and like you think, you start working with that's it, this is the pit, but it's not. It's the next stage. You need to go for some, you know, you need to carry on growing, and it's sometimes it is hard to go, yeah, sweet, it's flying now at the moment. Let's just go in cruise control, and it's just not. No, you can't do that.
Can't do that because the second you maintain, you start to digress.
The quality dips, and like I look at my content from say like 6 months ago, I'd look and think I won't even post that now. I wouldn't even do that, like, or even like a couple of months ago, I wouldn't even post that now. Or
I wouldn't put that out there. Wouldn't put it out there.
It needs to be more quality, and it's always just like continuously growing all the time.
Mm-hmm. And that's due to the quantity of posts you've put out and how much work you've put in. You can see where you've went right and where you've went not wrong, but where you could have improved, and you go, you could work on that. I could work on that. It's
because you see as well, like obviously I'm one of them. I've been focused on myself, but you do see other competitors doing something, and you look at it and think, well, their stuff looks pretty similar to what it was a year ago, and there's no kind of like I'm always looking, and like I work with a business guy. He puts me in the right that all about marketing, and he drills it in my head. I've got to post things that I've got to have a reason and a purpose. There's got to be a message towards it. You can't just post random shit and just a space fill. It's got to be targeted. Who are you posting it for? What's the educational content? And like that's just getting drilled in your head. Like I'm quite proud of my page now. With like it looks.
I'd be very proud of your page because your page looks really good. Because I've had a look at your page and I know that you've got a lot of interaction on that page. You're putting a post up there and it's getting a lot of likes. And I know just by trying to build my own podcast page, it's difficult. You've got to try and keep posting content out there. The content's got to be relevant. People have got to want to have a look at it. It's really difficult, but you're doing dead well with it. And the more you post, and it's the quality and the content of the post, and that's what people are looking for, especially when they're looking for someone like you. They're not just looking for a saviour. They're looking for someone who can guide them right, but they want someone who they know, right, okay, if I put the work in with this guy, it's gonna come back to me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
For me as well, like a lot of people think nutritionists are just bit of a nerd, come straight from uni, no kind of personality. I'm just a normal lad. Like normal, like just end of relatable, and
people can resonate with you, and that if you're on the level with people, that'll help massively. Because if they've got someone who's like is a bit of a nerd and stuff like that, and they don't really have
life skills. I think probably the word I'm trying to explain, like just having a life skill and been there, done it, and just like being, as you said, just being relatable to people.
Multivitamins and minerals, what do you say about them? Do you use them? Would you recommend them? Supplements?
I'd be rather like more food first approach. If you can't get it in your diet or you're struggling to get it in,
supplements.
The same like a protein powder. If you can't get it in your diet and it's easy for you to have a protein shake, post training instead of you cooking chicken breast, that's the whole thing of a supplement. Same with like fish oils, omega-3s. If you're not having a lot of fish in your diet, then that's the need for the supplements.
Yeah, but otherwise, if you can put food first.
Yeah, food first, always a food first approach.
I like that. Gut health?
Yeah, I think it's one of them things as well that gets like spouted about, like gut health, you got to be doing this is bad for your gut, and that can confuse a lot of people.
Our immune systems and our, like, stems from our gut, doesn't it, Peter? And then now, with winter approaching, we're in September, coming into October, you know, fighters, the last thing you want in a camp is to be getting sick.
Yeah.
So if you're not fueling yourself right, if your gut's not healthy, if your immune system's low, then more chances of getting sick. You don't want that. How can we prevent that, and what can we do?
It's all about just having a balance in your diet, really, making sure you are getting the right, you know, you're getting a decent amount of fibre in, you're having lots of fruit and vegetables, you're getting your vitamins and minerals in. You know, it's just getting them basics right. Sometimes people think, oh, you need to be taking this supplement to help, or you need to take this and this is going to cure you. There's just so much misinformation. As long as you're getting the basics right, you typically tend to not have any kind of gut immune issue. But I could also talk about, like, the gut actually plays a role in terms of heat stress too. How you can, a bit sciencey, but like, have you had like the term like leaky gut?
Yeah.
So when you're like exposed to heat stress, where you're too high of a heat stress, where you're too dehydrated, you get what's called leaky gut. So say the gut lining's like that, and there's like,
because you can get lectins, can't you?
Yeah,
that's
like,
something I wanted to. You've just pricked, and I seen a good analogy, and it was like lectins come in certain forms of food, and if you put it under a microscope, it looks sharp.
Yeah.
Tomatoes, bell peppers, different ones. And if you eat too much of it, it can spike the gut lining, because the gut lining's only very, very thin, isn't it? And the analogy they use was like, if you kept throwing nails down the toilet and you kept flushing the toilet, they might go into the tubes, but when they get inside the plastic pipe, they might dissipate. But if you kept putting them down, eventually they'll break the pipe, and then dirty fluid will start coming through, and it'll start leaking out. Well, that's what'll happen there. It's going into your system, and that's when it starts to cause you problems.
Well, that's the same with the heat stress. It's basically that kind of analogy where you get endotoxins, like when you're under heat stress or you're like really dehydrated, them toxins then will go from your gut into your circulation, and that can cause inflammation, and then that's how like you can get organ damage, and you can die from heat stress. So some people like more prone to heat stress than others because of the gut. So the gut plays like a massive role in terms of,
and the acclimation would help that, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
by
so
just
like,
keep taking yourself there.
Well, the gut is like also protected by them security guards, the heat shock protein. So the more you do the heat acclimation, the heat shock proteins get greater expression of them, and that protects the cell. I thought that was quite a good analogy.
That's what it was. It was a brilliant analogy. What was I going to say? Jordan Vucenic, or how do you pronounce his name? Jordan
Vucenic.
Is that it? Yeah. Seen that weight cut, seen a picture you put up there. I think he went from 79 to 66 or something like that. 66 to 79, sorry.
That post caused a bit of controversy because people think that's what he actually cut. He actually didn't. Like, Jordan, he cut a decent amount, but he wasn't 79. I had to like kind of like clarify that in the comments. I think I did it on my story. Sometimes when you refuel,
either way, he was an animal getting in there.
Either way, he was massive. But some people reactive, like you can give the carbohydrate fluid recommendation to someone only put a couple of kilos back on, typically what you'd start fight week at.
Yeah.
But then some people go over that. It's just really dependent on the person.
I think it was a great advert for what you're doing, because at the end of the day, everyone wants to be a fucking animal when they're getting in there, regardless. Do you know what I mean?
I thought people thought I was advocating like a big
you're getting Tony and Dave, who probably really haven't got much clue around the corner, saying, you know, well, why is that right, blah blah blah. I'm sure if you got them and put them in the situation, you went from actually stepping on the scales and being 66 to getting in there and being at that size. I mean, like, essentially, I think that's the primary goal for most fighters. They want to be getting in that ring, octagon, whatever it is. They want to be getting in there the biggest and strongest they can possibly be, making the smallest weight that they can possibly make, giving them an advantage over their opponents. You want to be.
I could give you a bit of the science behind why I think he got that big.
Go on.
So, do you want to told you about like 1 gram of carbs, bound to 3 grams of water?
Yeah.
So obviously when you refuel, you're having say 700 grams of carbs. So you're having obviously that water association with. But there's been a study that's shown that when people have dehydrated themselves and then refueled the carbs, that water association could be 1 to 17.
Well, yeah. So you're getting a lot more.
So you're getting a lot more. So certain people, like
so the water retention will be a lot bigger.
It's even a lot bigger.
Yeah.
So that is my theory why he's
carved up and he's had loads of water and it's hella water.
Because he cut a few kilos too. So he's had that water, had them carbs and that.
And he's possibly had the electrolytes as well. Yeah. So it's the sodium, everything's held.
Yeah. So like a lot of people go, well, how much should I be weighing in? How much should I be putting on post weigh-ins? Like everyone's individual. Some people just react differently to what in terms of that. So
talking about that, and we've spoken about, like success stories under yourself, where you've had fighters come through you and like basically like the one championship in Haggerty, and then the likes of Jordan there, like in incredible shape getting in there. Have you got any like horror stories where you've had like athletes turning up to you beforehand and like the stuff that they've been doing and how they've been living and what they've been doing before they've come to you, and you're just like, oh my God, like what the fuck's been going on?
A lot of the time it's not necessarily diet, it's just what they've been told in the past to make the weight, or should I be avoiding carbs after it? It's all them little kind of statements. I don't think I've ever had anyone I've looked at the diet and gone, oh my God, this is absolutely horrendous. It's just kind of the myths and dispelling the myths, really.
You're very well travelled. You've been around a little bit, haven't you? And you're intending to go around a little bit again, aren't you? Yeah. I seen you do a post about travelling as a fighter and about how to avoid like jet lag and get from one place to the other in the best way.
Yeah.
There was loads of little bits of info there and bits of tips, and that run through that with us because that was a boss post.
So if a lot of fighters obviously competed different countries, and you're going. So jet lag is basically if you're going across 3 or 4 more time zones. That's when you can get jet lag. So you can't get jet lag from going to Spain. Going to Spain. Someone actually said that in the gym to me the other day, and I was just like, just the honest way to go. Someone said to me, oh, I'm really tired. I've got a bit of jet lag. I said, where did you go? Malaga.
Yeah.
Anyway. So it's quite hard with the jet lag because obviously your body's got a circadian rhythm. So you get, your body clock. You got jumped on a flight to Thailand.
See the circadian rhythm?
Yeah.
I've got to get in there.
Okay.
Is that like 888? Is that like 8 hours sleep, 8 hours rest, 8 hours light? What is the circadian rhythm? Talk to me about, educate me about the circadian rhythm.
That's actually a good question, that. Just basically your sleep-wake cycle. So, there's certain hormones and your body temperature is different at certain times of the day. So typically your core temperature is highest in like the evening time. That's like peak core temperature. So just a lot of people win world records in the evening time. That's when the core temperature is highest, and the core temperature is lowest in the morning. So there's all different variations there. So in terms of the so when you're traveling, so say you leave it. This happened to me so many times traveling. When you go to Australia and the time difference, and then your body clock's obviously used to the time
mornings, nights, and nights.
So you get there, and then one of the things that a lot of people do is they'll go to sleep like during the day, and then the jet lag for days on end.
Because they're waking up in the night and all that.
So the best thing to do is getting used to the time zone. If it's daytime there, is getting used to that, staying up. So things about what you've had to eat, like caffeine, don't be having caffeine on the plane because you need to get kind of used to the time zone. If you're landing at 8 o'clock at night, you're having a cup of coffee, 1 hour away from your flight, that's going to affect your jet lag. The food you eat as well. it's
being prepared, knowing what you're going to eat when you land and that, because
No,
obviously if
yeah.
you're going on holiday or if you're going somewhere to like live out there for a couple of
it's
months,
jet
it's
lag
cool,
though,
yeah, it's alright, but if you're going there to fight, it's a completely different story,
yeah.
innit?
But
You
even like
can't,
training the day of the flight, if you're doing it in like high intensity, that can increase cortisol, which can potentially affect your sleep on the plane. There's just there's so many variables to look out for, and like ideally you want to be, if you're a fighter, because it takes around a day for every time zone easterly. No, waking up yet. Easterly, it takes like a day for you to recover, to adjust to that new time zone. So say you're flying out on the Monday and you're fighting on the Friday, you're still potentially jet lagged on the Friday on fight day. So when anyone's fighting, you want to try and go out like earlier on to get used to the time zones. But it's one of the things as well. Like
you can't always.
It's so variable. Like some people react differently to others, and like there is a decent amount of research there, but you can apply it, and then it doesn't apply to everyone.
Yeah, it's not one size fits all.
Yeah, it's because I've done the Australia flight like I think it's 13 times now, and it never gets any fucking easier. I can't sleep on planes, and it never gets any easier.
Would you moving abroad now? Going back over to, are you going to Thailand?
Yeah, we're going to Thailand and then
Australia.
Yeah, well, Australia.
For your UK clients, is everything going to remain the same?
Yeah, like I had more Australian and more UK clients when I was living in Australia. Yeah. So like it actually, like the time zone's only 8 hours, so it's not actually that bad. 6 hours in Thailand, 8 hours in Australia, so it's actually alright.
You can still work remotely with your clients anyway.
And it actually works out fine, really. And for me as well, it kind of, because I've got Australian clients, probably like 50-50. I'll wake up in the morning, obviously because the Australian clients, they're ahead. So you wake up, you got all the messages, and you got all the messages from people in the morning. When you're over there, the time difference, you wake up in the morning, the messages aren't there because you're ahead kind of thing. So it's a lot, it's actually quite like workload. It's better, it actually works out better to but it just means like sometimes I have to work a little bit later, but it's a good problem.
Nah, you're all there.
Yeah.
Either which way, you're still getting it in, aren't
Yeah.
you? Performance enhancing drugs. Let's talk a little bit about that. There's a lot of it seems to be going on at the moment, especially in like in the higher level. We've had Chisora, we've had Elenius, we've had Ben, stuff like that. Now people say he was, people say he weren't. It's all fucking by the by. Do you think they're doing it just for performance, or do you think people are doing it to try and cut weight and stuff like that? Do you think there's definitely no room for it in the sport? But
I'm not sure about cutting weight, but it could be like a multitude of things where people are recovering from, they've got an injury that no one knows about, and they're trying to get over that. It's a hard one really, because actually it happened in that one championship. There was a fighter who was the world champion, and he got drug tested in the venue. There was an event on, and he got stripped of his title, and then he was saying it was for recovery, or he had an injury, or like it's
worrying, innit? And it's marring the sport, isn't it? You know what I mean? On a whole, it's marring combat sports, because there's a lot of it going on. Whether you don't know, it's especially like me just being a fan and onlooking and stuff like that. It's hard to say, yeah, he is, or yeah, he isn't, because there's like, look at Canelo and all that. It was the beef.
Yeah.
Was it? You know what I mean? It's hard to say, isn't it? You know what I mean?
It's hard, like, because let's be honest, there's probably people who are taking stuff and getting away with it. Yeah. It's same with like I remember reading loads of stuff a few years ago, like cycling. I read a couple of books, and like everyone was doing it in the cycling years ago, just all EPO and
it's crazy, man. Blood
bags. It was like a full on, like the Lance Armstrong thing was like a full on operation. If you ever like watched this documentary, it's mad.
I'll have to look into
like a full on, like you obviously heard about what happened. Like it was a full on like operation. There was people behind the scenes. There was doctors involved, like blood bags, transfusions taken in like vans. It was mad, like mad setup.
I have to watch that now because
Yeah.
it's just like it's
Yeah.
struck
There's a
chord
book
with
on
me.
it as well. I can't remember. It was like a former cyclist wrote it, and he was saying about how he got into like whatever team they were in, and how they were encouraging him to start taking things, and he realised he had to take stuff because he wasn't going to compete at that level. So he started taking it, and then all the stuff. It was mad, just the operation behind it was mad.
Sad, innit?
Yeah.
Fucking it messes with the sport, don't it?
Yeah.
On a whole. If you had any messages for any fighters out there watching this podcast, any like good tips, advice, golden rules of thumb, or anything to do with the nutrition, eating, getting ready for a fight camp, is there anything off the top of your head you could say? Any rules to live by?
I think you just got to get the fundamentals important. Are you getting enough sleep? Are you hydrated? Are you getting enough protein for recovery? Are you getting enough carbohydrates for your training? Are you managing your training load? You're not just training 3 times a day and just that's because you want to do. You're managing things, outside stresses, there's all them kind of variables in terms of, if you're a fighter and you're thinking, you watch this and you thought, oh, I do cut a bit of weight or I do struggle. Maybe one of the things is to try and get a body composition assessment, get your bloods done. You might be deficient in something. Getting all that data and going, okay, well,
stop winging it.
Yeah, stop winging. I know where I'm at. Maybe it's the thing I might have to move up a weight class, or actually realise that I'm okay, or like my body composition. Maybe I just need to be more dialed in with nutrition and stuff like that. Really, so it's just like getting the fundamentals, and then if you're a fighter, getting them baseline assessments to work forward with.
Is there any topics that we haven't touched on that you'd like to touch on? Any subjects that you'd like to talk about?
I think we've covered everything. Yeah. I feel like
I feel like we have. I feel like we went deep, baby.
Yeah.
We went in and we went in hard. Well, before we go, can we do a little fast 10 questions? Because I just like to, and it's just it's a bit of fun in it, and it changes things up a little bit. Oh yeah, and before that, I'd just like to ask you, who are your idols? Who inspires you?
Myself.
Yeah. Never had that answer before.
I feel like I look up to and like know what I'm capable of. I think like this sounds like quite, I don't know if it's disrespectful, but people I grew up with kids, and people have hung around with the mates back in the day. I was the only person out of all my mates who went to uni. Everyone else was grafting and all that kind of stuff, and like I was the only person that did that. So always I was just like myself, looking what can I do. So it's kind of like I'm kind of my own biggest hero, like knowing what I can do.
Peter of tomorrow, so inspiring. Yeah,
there was actually a really good Matthew McConaughey speech, and he talks about like what's his hero, and he's like,
me in 10 years. I heard him.
It's that kind of thing where like
I've got his book there, Green Lights. He's a top man, isn't he? Yeah, but
it's often really like there's no one I'm looking like. Oh, it's like it's myself knowing that I know if I put the work in and I graft like what I've done when I went to uni, doing my masters, even leaving school, and I know I put my mind to something.
You can do it.
I can do it 100%.
Yeah, if you say, if anybody sets the mind to something, you can achieve it if you want it bad enough. How do you eat? How do you eat yours?
I'm one of them. I do weight training. I train every morning.
How do you eat, Pete?
I eat pretty well. I'm one of them creatures of habit where I'll have the same breakfast, same lunch, and I might mix stuff for dinner. I don't track anything. I just eat. Yeah, just eat well, and then might have a little cheeky takeaway on the weekend and stuff. But,
my man. Okay. Fast 10. Read a book or watch the telly.
I don't watch telly, so I read a book.
Your deepest fear.
Not living up to my potential.
Your favourite food.
Lebanese.
Great night in or a boss night out.
I haven't drank for 8 months. I'd say a great night in.
Favourite musician or song.
No song. I've got too many, I'm into like my country music at the moment, random as well.
I like a little bit of country.
Luke Combs.
Zach Bryan. Get on Zach Bryan.
Yeah.
Zach Bryan's heavy.
That's like my little phase I'm going through at the moment.
Get on Zach Bryan if you like Kunsty. Crisp or chocolate?
Crisps.
Name one thing on your bucket list.
Go to Japan, which I'm going to go to when I'm in Thailand.
That's fuck me next question. You can go anywhere in the world. Where would you go?
Japan.
You'd have one wish. What would it be? Be anything, but you've only got one. The genie only grants it once.
So I don't know, you know.
You can have anything. You can do anything. But you only got one.
I can't think, you know. That's really, I can't think of it.
Okay, we'll skip it. You could only keep one possession. What would it be?
Well, because my work's on my phone and my laptop, even my phone on my phone.
Your phone. If there are any fighters out there now who are watching and would like to get on board with Condition Nutrition, how do they go about doing it?
Just drop me a message on Instagram, condition.nutrition. I'll be the first person that pops up. Probably best reaching me out through there.
There, yeah.
I find people don't really... People send emails, but people like to just...
Would you like to do any shout-outs before we go? I'd like to do...
Shout out to Vinny. Vinny came in the day. Love Vinny.
Yeah, Vinny Showman.
Yeah.
I'd like to do a shout-out for you. I'd like to do a shout-out to the fella who you see in the on Allerton Road in the garden centre. He was a geezer. He deserves a shout-out, definitely. Because he was a pinnacle moment.
I actually, funny story, I actually said to him at the end, when I was in that garden, all through uni, my masters, I came up to him the last day and said, you changed my life.
That's was.
Sick, isn't it?
Thank you very much for coming on.
Pleasure, mate.
And thanks very much for watching. Until next time, guys. Peace out.